that Tsundere goddess falls in love with me. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 801, Facing the Reality. Yang Xianqi paused, then turned back to look at Nangang Linggaya. Miss Nangang, I didn't know when you arrived. I'm really sorry that I couldn't greet you in person. Now, you've made a fool of yourself, but don't worry, I will solve the problem soon, and our selection meeting will continue. Nangang Linggaya hurriedly explained. Yang Xianqi, I told you to let it go. Don't do it. If you continue to do it, you will be the next one to die. Nangang Linggaya said seriously. Miss Nangang, don't you trust me? Don't worry, I'm very experienced in dealing with a brat who doesn't know his place. You just need to watch the show here. Nangang Linggaya sighed helplessly and continued. If you insist on fighting, the next person to die will be you. Yang Xianqi looked at Nangang Linggaya strangely and asked curiously, Miss Nangang, what's wrong with you today? Don't you trust my strength? Do you really think that I'm not the opponent of this young man? Of course, don't blame me for telling the truth. You are not his opponent at all. Yang Xianqi frowned and asked, Miss Nangang, why do you say that? Why are you so sure? Yang Xianqi, you are only a third-grade martial emperor. I know your strength. Although your swordsmanship is superb, it cannot cover up the huge gap in hard power after all. When I went out this time, I was accompanied by many strong men, but in his hands, they couldn't last more than a few minutes. He doesn't even need to do it himself. He can solve all the problems by sending out one of his men. Hearing this, Yang Xianqi suddenly found it unbelievable. It's impossible. Miss Nangang, your guards are all top-notch. How could they not be his opponents? Nangang Linggaya continued, because the strong men around me have long died in his hands, and Uncle Qin who follows me is not inferior to you in strength. You have to figure out what the situation is now. If you insist on doing it, then I will no longer stop you. You will pay the price for your decision. After that, Nangang Linggaya stood aside and made way for Yang Xianqi. For a while, Yang Xianqi fell into entanglement and silence. He lowered his head and kept thinking, looking up at Lu Chuan from time to time. Although he was angry, he had to listen to Nangang Linggaya's words. He sighed helplessly and said, Miss Nangang, you kindly reminded me. I know you are helping me. If what you said is true, then I may really not be his opponent. After that, he looked back at Lu Chuan and suddenly felt mixed emotions. Although he trusted Nangang Linggaya's words, the man in front of him didn't look like a martial emperor. He shook his head helplessly, smiled bitterly, and looked at Lu Chuan with a smile, fearing that he would offend Lu Chuan. Seeing this, Lu Chuan couldn't help but laugh. This old guy is an old guy, and he knows the situation very well. I think there may be some misunderstandings between us. He smiled awkwardly and walked towards Lu Chuan. What misunderstandings? Didn't you want to teach me a lesson just now? How did it become a misunderstanding now? Yang Xianqi's face was full of embarrassment and embarrassment. He looked at Lu Chuan and smiled helplessly. I'm really sorry, I don't know your identity. Otherwise, I would definitely treat you as a VIP. As for my apprentice, he is blind and can't know the situation. It's his bad luck, and he deserves to die. Let's not talk about that anymore. Just treat it as a thing of the past. Lu Chuan raised his hand to block Yang Xianqi's arm that wanted to put his arm around his shoulder. You just said something rude to me. I was thinking, how should I punish you? How about this? I'll let you go and reunite with your apprentice, so that your apprentice won't be too lonely on the road to the underworld. Ah! Yang Xianqi shouted in shock and turned his head quickly. Sir, what I just said is pure nonsense. Please don't take it to heart. Seeing this, the apprentices around him lowered their heads, not daring to look directly at Lu Chuan. In their eyes, their most respected master had admitted his defeat. How could they, as apprentices, not admit their defeat? Many people looked at the pile of coke on the ground with regret, and they all sighed. Poor Zaoke, who could find someone else, but found a hard bone. It was really too unlucky. Maybe it was his fate. Lu Chuan looked at Yang Xianqi and Nangang Linggaya and asked, "You two seem to know each other very well. Have you known each other before?" "Yes, that's right. I said before, I'm here to be a judge, not to participate in the competition. Our Nangang family does have some connections with the Legion sect." Yang Xianqi quickly continued, "More than just some connections, we are simply a family. Our Legion sect can be what it is today without the help of the Nangang family. It's not an exaggeration for our Legion sect to call the Nangang family our saviors." Hearing this, Lu Chuan couldn't help but become curious. "Your two families have a deep friendship." Lu Chuan looked at Yang Xianqi and quickly asked, "Do you know Nangang Qianying? We have something to talk to him about." Yang Xianqi opened his mouth and was about to say something when Nangang Linggaya suddenly interrupted him. "Mr. Lu, I have made it very clear just now. Nangang Qianying is dead. He died 3 years ago. He no longer exists in this world." Lu Chuan stared at Nangang Linggaya. He gradually began to feel that she was lying. The first time she said it, Lu Chuan didn't feel anything and thought that Nangang Linggaya was telling the truth. But the second time, Lu Chuan didn't ask her, but asked Yang Xianqi. Seeing that Yang Xianqi was about to speak, he was interrupted by Nangang Linggaya. This made Lu Chuan begin to doubt. "Have you really not seen Nangang Qianying recently?" Lu Chuan asked again. This time, Yang Xianqi kept his mouth shut tightly. He was unwilling to say a word and left it all to Nangang Linggaya. "Mr. Lu, there is no need to ask again. This matter is set in stone. I'm not lying. Nangang Qianying is indeed dead." Lu Chuan nodded slightly. "I can choose to believe you. What you said is true. However, I plan to continue to go deeper into the Kunlun region in the future. Maybe I may meet someone from your Nangang family. If I meet you at that time and need to stay at your house for a few nights, I hope you won't be too disgusted." "How could that be?" "Of course not. If you come to our Nangang mansion, I will definitely give you a warm welcome. I can even hold a celebratory dinner for you." Nangang Linggaya showed a stiff smile. "That's what you said. If I go to the city where you are, I will find you." Nangang Linggaya nodded helplessly. "No problem. You are welcome anytime." Chapter 802, Envious. Yang Xianqi did not dare to question what Nangang Linggaya said. When she said that Yang Xianqi was not Lu Chuan's opponent, although Yang Xianqi was a little surprised at first, he soon realized that Nangang Linggaya did not lie to him. It stands to reason that with Nangang Linggaya's identity and status, she must be accompanied by a lot of guards when traveling. But just after going up the mountain, Yang Xianqi never saw any guards beside Nangang Linggaya. In other words, these guards existed at the beginning, but they were killed halfway. As for the murderer, he looked up at Lu Chuan and had the answer in his heart. Therefore, whether it was Nangang Linggaya's words or the reality, he just realized, they told him that he should not fight with Lu Chuan, otherwise, his end would definitely be death. He looked back at the charred body of his apprentice and sighed helplessly. His eyes were full of regret, as if he felt very sorry for Zhaokei's death. Lu Chuan glanced at the sword discussing conference and continued to ask, "This is just a conference to select disciples. There is no need to call it a sword discussing conference, right?" Yang Xianqi smiled awkwardly. "There is no way. If it is a selection conference, many sword discussing novices will come. Among the people who have gone up the mountain now, there are not many sword discussing novices. They are all veterans." Lu Chuan nodded slightly and then continued to ask, "But have you ever thought that by doing this, won't you exclude talented young people? There are a group of older swordsmen around here. Even if you are recruited into the sect, it is basically over. There is no potential to be developed." Hearing this, Yang Xianqi suddenly realized and hurriedly said, "Mr. Lu, what you said makes sense. After this sword discussing conference is over, I will take people to Lincheng and hold another legitimate selection conference to select a group of potential newcomers to take back." Lu Chuan glanced around and continued to ask, "What is the final reward of your sword discussing conference?" Yang Xianqi looked back at the wooden box beside him and said, "It's a sword. The quality is pretty good. It can be regarded as an attractive reward. It's a sword, then forget it. I'm not interested. In that case, I'll leave first." Lu Chuan's words made Yang Xianqi unable to sit still. He hurriedly stepped forward and asked curiously, "Are you not interested in this sword? The quality of this sword is very good. If you don't take a look, you will know whether this sword is good or bad." Lu Chuan looked back at him. It seems that this man is very confident in the sword he brought and knows that it is a high quality sword. However, for Lu Chuan, any sword will be eclipsed by the soul-breaking sword on his back. Apart from other things, the basic quality of its top-grade immortal weapon alone is enough to stand out from the crowd. Even if you look at the entire lynching, it is impossible to find a second immortal weapon. Lu Chuan shook his head disapprovingly. "No need, I have a sword of excellent quality, so I'm not interested in yours. It doesn't matter whether it is good or bad, it's not as good as the one on my back anyway." At this time, Nangang Lingai came over and said, "Mr. Lu, I think Master Yang wants to give you this sword as a testimony of the friendship between the two sides. If you are destined to come to the Legion sect in the future, you can still be friends." Lu Chuan still shook his head. "I don't plan to take it anymore. There is no need. It's just a burden to carry it with you." Suddenly, Yang Xianqi turned around, walked towards the wooden box, raised his right foot, and stepped down suddenly. Bang! Then, he took the sword out of the wooden box. The bright blade sword is a rare treasured sword. Swords are like other weapons and equipment, divided into ordinary weapons, spiritual weapons, and immortal weapons. And this one is an extremely rare 4th grade spiritual weapon. A sword of this quality is considered to be upper middle level in the entire Kunlun domain. Are you really not going to take a look? He thought Lu Chuan didn't understand the ins and outs of this, so he told him all the information about the bright blade sword in detail. Hearing this, Lu Chuan still shook his head. "You also know that the level of mid-grade spiritual weapons is considered upper middle grade in the Kunlun domain. But what about immortal weapons?" Yang Xianqi was stunned. After a moment's pause, he asked, "Immortal weapons? Why are you asking this? Immortal weapons are only qualified to be owned by the top powerhouses in the Kunlun domain. For us mortals, let alone dreaming of getting one, even if we can take a look at it or touch it, we are considered very lucky. Immortal weapons, it's better not to think about weapons and equipment of this level. It's too far away. It's good enough to get a set of top-level spiritual equipment." Lu Chuan shook his head. "I already have an immortal sword on me, so I'm not interested in the sword you brought. Why should I carry an extra piece of scrap metal on me?" Hearing this, Yang Xianqi took 2 steps back in fright. "Is the sword you have on you a immortal weapon? Did I hear it right?" For a moment, the eyes of everyone around were focused on Lu Chuan. Then, they moved their gaze behind Lu Chuan, all staring at the sword on Lu Chuan's back. Is this an immortal weapon? Why doesn't it look like one to me? In my imagination, immortal weapons are all glittering with jewels and all kinds of luxurious treasures. I didn't expect it to be so simple. This big brother actually has an immortal weapon in his hands. This is too outrageous. I actually saw an immortal weapon on this broken hill. It always feels a little unreal. Is it true or not? Is this an immortal weapon? It doesn't look like it to me. Have I been fooled?" Nangang Lingai walked forward quickly and looked at Lu Chuan curiously. "Do you really have an immortal weapon on you? Why don't you let me taste it? My father has an immortal weapon in his hand, and I know something about immortal weapons." Lu Chuan shrugged. "Forget it, there's no need. I know it's real, not fake. Immortal weapon. A sword of this level is really rare. Mr. Lu, I didn't expect you to be able to get a sword of immortal grade. No wonder you are so powerful." Yang Xianqi sighed, staring at the sword behind Lu Chuan, and he was reluctant to move away. All the people present were swordsmen. For them, a top quality sword was more important than life. For a moment, everyone's eyes were fixed on Lu Chuan. They were all looking forward to taking a look at the sword that had been in the scabbard. Lu Chuan turned and left, intending to return the same way and go down the mountain. "Let's go, Li Zunying, we should go back." When Lu Chuan was about to leave, Nangang Lingai quickly caught up with him. Chapter 803 Bad News. "Mr. Lu, I want to ask, where are you living temporarily?" She came to Lu Chuan and asked curiously. "I live in Linqing now." "Then when you come to Nangang's house, you can come to me, and I will help you." Lu Chuan laughed. "I killed a lot of your men. You still want to help me? Although they are men, they are not from Nangang's family. Although they have followed me for a long time, I don't have any feelings for them. At most, I will find another batch. Lu Chuan nodded slightly after hearing this. No problem. If I meet again in the future, I will find you. Then, Lu Chuan began to go down the hillside. After watching Lu Chuan leave, the others began to talk about it. For them, Lu Chuan's appearance brought a lot of topics. Lu Chuan's identity, strength, and the immortal sword were all points worth discussing. Miss Nangang, is the sword on him really an immortal weapon? Yang Xianqi walked quickly to Nangang Lingaya and asked curiously. Nangang Lingaya shrugged helplessly. I have never seen him take out the sword, so I don't know for now. If he can take it out, I will definitely be able to recognize it, she said very confidently. Yang Xianqi lowered his head and thought for a moment. Okay, but this is an immortal sword. It is so rare. Nangang Lingaya looked at him. You won't have any ideas about this sword? Of course not. Although I like collecting swords, that person is so powerful, I dare not provoke him. Nangang Lingaya nodded slightly. It's good to know. Don't be so blind as to cause trouble for him, otherwise he will vent his anger on your Legion sect, and our Nangang family can't protect you. It's impossible. Our Legion sect is full of strong people. He dare not act casually. That's hard to say. The top strong people in this world have the strength to defeat 1,000 people alone. You'd better be serious. Yang Xianqi took a deep breath and said seriously, I promise, I will never have any ideas about him. That's good. Continue your activities. Nangang Lingaya walked aside and came to a place where there was no one. She took 2 deep breaths to relieve the tension in her heart. Meanwhile, Lu Chuan and Li Zunying were walking down the mountain carefully, chatting as they walked. Mr. Lu, this mountain is a bit steep. It will be much flatter if you go down a little further. By the way, I see that the way those people look at you is not right. I suspect that they may be interested in the sword on you. Li Zunying reminded. Lu Chuan nodded slightly. I will be careful, but you don't need to pay too much attention to them. I have something more precious than the immortal sword on me, and it has long been known by a group of people. They are much more covetous than this group of people. No wonder I think you don't care about them at all. It turns out that someone has already coveted the treasure on you. Brother, you have offended a lot of people. Lu Chuan smiled helplessly. There is no way. If you want to do things in Kunlun domain, you must offend some people. If you offend, you will offend. If you offend, you will be defeated. The two soon arrived at the foot of the mountain, got on their horses again, and began to return to Linsheng. Today, I came to the mountain, but I just went up the mountain to take a look. I didn't gain much. The biggest gain should be meeting the people of the Nangang family. Brother Lu, do you think that Nangang Lingaya lied? That Nangang Qianying, is she really still alive? Li Zunying asked curiously. I don't know, but I think that Nangang Lingaya seems to be lying, but whether it is true or not, we still need to verify. Li Zunying clenched his fists immediately. That bastard must live in the world for me. I will kill him with my own hands and avenge my brothers, he said angrily, with nowhere to vent his anger. Don't let your enemies control your emotions. It's easy to make irrational judgments. Take it step by step. You will meet that bastard if he is alive. Li Zunying nodded slightly and accepted Lu Chuan's reminder. Soon, the two returned to the right road and galloped towards the direction of Linsheng. When they arrived in Linsheng, it was already evening. The two rode into the city and walked towards the direction of Lu Mansion. In the evening, the streets of Linsheng gradually became lively. Linsheng itself is a prosperous city with various resources developed here, which has driven the development of various industries. On the city streets, there are still many people playing here at night. Lu Chuan walked on the street. His ears were filled with noisy voices and the sounds of some children playing and frolicking. When he arrived at the gate of Lu Mansion, Lu Chuan dismounted and walked into the mansion. The guard at the door helped to lead the horse that Lu Chuan was riding into the mansion. After Lu Chuan entered the Lu Mansion, he returned to the main room. This was originally Lu Beixuan's room. After Lu Chuan renovated it, he let him and Gu Xiaorao live here. After returning to the room, Lu Chuan saw Gu Xiaorao and Gu Xiaosang eating. Lu Chuan walked to the dining table and sat down. Did anything happen in the mansion today? Guzayadora shook her head slightly. Nothing serious. I spent most of my time today getting to know the people in the mansion one by one. This environment is still too unfamiliar to us. If we want to live here in the future, we need to get more familiar with it. Luchuan nodded. Next to him, Guzayana-san served a bowl of rice and placed it on Luchuan's table. Luchuan picked up the bowl and started eating dinner. By the way, there is another matter today. The people below have already solved it. I'd better tell you. In the Xianlang mountain in the north of the city, it was the same mine. When we went to take over, we were attacked. All the people we sent died in the mine. The casualties were tragic. We are now replenishing the manpower. I don't know what the result will be. Luchuan's face darkened. What's the point of replenishing the manpower now? It's obviously targeted. I don't know if they are here to rob the mine or deliberately sabotage it, but if we replenish the manpower now, aren't we still going to die? If we don't find the source and the murderer, we will still die. Let's eat first and wait for their news. Guzayadora continued to eat with her head down. She didn't have much say in this matter. Her own strength was average, and she couldn't turn the tide of the battle even if she fought. Dinner was almost over, and Luchuan got up and prepared to go out. I'll go around the mansion and get familiar with it. Just as Luchuan was about to step out of the door, a figure suddenly rushed in and came to Luchuan. With a thud, the man knelt down and looked up at Luchuan in panic. Lord Lu, something terrible has happened. We were originally going to take over the mine in the north, but we were attacked during the day. After we repelled the attackers, we wanted to fill in the gaps, but they attacked again. Chapter 804 Bloodbath at the mine. The man who reported the news was frightened and panicked. It was obvious that he had just witnessed the scene of the massacre. He pleaded hurriedly, "Master, what should we do next? Otherwise, let's fight back. We can't let them be so arrogant." Luchuan looked at him and asked in a deep voice, "How many people are there in that gang?" "More than 10 people, less than 20 people, but they are all very powerful." "Did they leave directly after killing people?" "The first time, we repelled them, and the second time, they killed everyone, and we had no manpower to fill in." Luchuan frowned slightly. "Whose people are these 20 or so people? Is there anyone in this city who wants to snatch the mineral vein from us?" "Master, no matter what force did this, we must find a way to solve the problem. Otherwise, that gang will continue to be arrogant. We must stop them." Luchuan grabbed the servant's shoulders and lifted him up directly. "You lead the way. I'll go over there." "Okay, Lord, I'll go get the horses ready. We'll leave now. Those guys are too arrogant. We have to kill them all. Otherwise, we won't be able to mine the mineral veins." Luchuan walked out quickly and came to the yard. "You lead the horses to the door and wait for me." The man nodded quickly and ran towards the stable. Luchuan walked towards Li Zunying. "Come on, come with me." "Brother, it's so late. Is there something urgent?" "Yes, a group of people attacked the people in the mine. We can't dig for the time being, and we have to kill those people." "Brother, who do you think might have done it?" Luchuan shook his head. "I don't know. Who else in the city has the courage to do this? The city lord? He shouldn't dare to do it. The Dongfang family, there is no need for this. Maybe other forces outside the city also happened to discover this mine, so they came to fight for it." Luchuan looked at Li Zunying and said, "This mine is a very important resource. After using it to build equipment, it can expand its power. Many forces will be jealous of other people's mines and compete for it. This kind of thing is inevitable. In this case, let's go over and kill all the people. That's it." "No problem. Leave it to me. I will handle it quickly." The two talked and walked to the door. The servants prepared the horses, and the three of them rode on the horses and started to set off. After quickly arriving at the city gate, due to safety issues at night, travel became more stringent. Luchuan went through some inspections before leaving Lincheng. Then, they rode all the way to the north of the city. After riding out of the city for almost half an hour, everyone saw the rolling mountains in the distance. "Master, we are almost there, just ahead." The servant held up a torch and rode in the front. Luchuan followed closely behind. The three of them came to the foot of the mountain and slowly started to climb the mountain along a dirt road. Following the dirt road, they soon saw several wooden houses. Around the houses, some torches were also seen to provide lighting. After Lu Chuan got off his horse, he walked quickly towards the camp. The camp was built next to the entrance of the mine, with a total of 6 wooden houses. After Lu Chuan walked quickly, he did not see any miners, but corpses on the ground and the smell of blood in the air. Lu Chuan glanced around and saw some signs of fighting, but not many. This is enough to prove that the strength gap between the two sides is very large, and they can be easily killed without any additional fighting. The servants knelt on the ground and cried bitterly when they saw this. They are all dead. They are all dead. He had been in the Lu mansion for more than 10 years and had feelings for the people there. Seeing this group of people die here made him cry bitterly. They are already gone. Are we too late? Lu Chuan walked back and forth in the camp. Li Zuniying followed behind and sighed helplessly. Brother, the gap in strength is too great. If they can resist a little, they can probably hold on until we arrive. What's the use of saying this now? Things have already happened. We have to find a way to figure out the situation here. Lu Chuan came to the servant, looked at him, and said, don't cry. Tell me, what is the strength of the people guarding this camp? The servant stood up, wiped the tears from the corners of his eyes, and said, the strongest is a person at the peak of the Martial King realm, and there are about 10 others at the Martial King realm, but the strength is quite different. If there are more than 10 Martial King realm powerhouses, then in order to crush them to death, I'm afraid that Martial Emperor realm powerhouses will be needed. Moreover, it can't be just 1 or 2, many will be needed. So many Martial Emperor realm powerhouses are dispatched at the same time. This is not something that bandits can do. Lu Chuan scratched his head. Without evidence, he could only look for clues here and analyze them, but when he looked around, there was no useful information. This group of people left after killing, and it seems that they didn't search for anything. Lu Chuan squatted in front of a corpse and rummaged through the pockets. The broken gold inside had not been taken away. This group of people left in a hurry, and they didn't even take away the money and property on them. The servant next to him came over and scratched his head in surprise. During the day, our people were attacked, but they were robbed of everything. Now there is nothing left. Did they forget? Lu Chuan looked back at the servant and asked hurriedly, what did you say? During the day, they searched this place. Even the pockets of the people were searched clean. Yes, there is not a piece of gold left, all gone. Lu Chuan frowned and gradually realized that something was wrong. No, the difference between this time and the attack in the daytime is that I brought people here. Could it be that they knew I was coming here, so they left in a hurry? The servant was immediately shocked when he heard this. Master, if that's what you mean, doesn't it mean that someone in the mansion is a traitor who revealed our whereabouts to the outside world? Lu Chuan shook his head slightly. It's hard to say for the time being. The key is that these dozen martial emperors are indeed suspicious. Where can so many people be invited? At this time, a trembling figure slowly walked out from the corner next to him. Is it someone from the Lu mansion? The man asked in a trembling voice. The servant hurriedly shouted, yes, it's our Lu mansion. Come out quickly, we are here to save people. The man hurriedly walked out. He looked very young, only in his early 20s. He was frightened and trembling all over, and his face was even paler. Did you witness the massacre just now? Lu Chuan asked. The man nodded quickly. Yes, I witnessed the whole process, and I also saw that before they left, someone suddenly ran over to give them a tip-off, so they left early. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 805 Identifying the Murderer. Lu Chuan frowned at what the survivor said. Before they came, this group of black-clothed men received a message from someone, so they all withdrew. Otherwise, the man in front of him would not have survived. After thinking for a moment, Lu Chuan gradually realized something. It has been asked and analyzed before that the strength of these attackers is basically around the Martial Emperor realm. Otherwise, it would be impossible to launch such an overwhelming massacre against these Martial King realm warriors. And Lu Chuan came out from Lincheng. Even if he wanted to report the news, it was the people in Lincheng who ran out to report the news, but they just got ahead of him. Then the result is very obvious. This group of people are from Lincheng. As for which force they came from, Lu Chuan already has an idea in his mind. In addition to the city lord's city guards, what other forces can dispatch more than a dozen martial emperor elm warriors at a time? The situation is very clear. These are the city lord's city guards who came out to attack us. The city lord Wan Changdang, this bastard actually tried to trip me up in secret. This is obviously a provocation to me. After Lu Chuan finished saying this, the two servants of the Lu mansion in front of him scratched their heads, expressing confusion. The relationship between our Lu mansion and the city lord is pretty good, right? Could it be that we took the mining rights of the mineral vein from the city lord and provoked him, so he secretly made things difficult for us? Don't talk nonsense. The city lord is not a petty person. He must have other reasons for doing this. Lu Chuan shrugged helplessly. Since the city lord took the initiative to cause trouble to me, I will definitely not let him off this time. Brother, should we just break into the city lord's mansion and kill that bastard? Lu Chuan shook his head slightly. That guy is so bold. Maybe he has made some preparations. It's better not to act rashly. Li Zunying asked with a puzzled look on his face. Then what should we do? Are we just going to watch that bastard cause trouble to us and we don't fight back? Lu Chuan shook his head slightly. The first thing we have to do now is to weaken the power of the city lord. The city guards under him are still strong. It will be very difficult for us to fight a team of more than a dozen martial emperors. Then what should we do next? Lu Chuan glanced around and said, have someone clean up this place, and then continue to recruit workers from the city to come over to mine and continue operations. Let's go back to Lincheng now, take a nap, and talk about it the next day. So what you mean is, lure that group of people out again? Lu Chuan nodded slightly. Yes, lure them all out again, and then we sneak out of the city and come to kill them. Okay, that's what we'll do. Let's go back first. Li Zunying was in a good mood and said with a little excitement in his tone. Then, the four of them started to get on their horses. Li Zunying, in order to be safe and not to have any accidents, I think it's best if only the two of us know about this. After Lu Chuan finished speaking, he rode down the mountain along the mountain road. Li Zunying stood there, nodded, and looked back at the two servants. I'm sorry, you two. Your lord has to fight against the city lord, so he must be foolproof in every aspect. He may have to sacrifice something for this. I hope you understand that in this world, those who succeed cannot be merciful. After saying that, he took out a dagger and walked towards the two of them. Seeing this, the two of them were immediately frightened and hurriedly retreated. The next moment, Li Zunying rushed forward quickly, swung the dagger quickly, and ended the lives of the two. Then he rode on a horse and followed Lu Chuan's footsteps. The two of them returned all the way to Lincheng and came to the city gate. The city gate slowly opened and Lu Chuan rode in. When they arrived at the Lu mansion, it was already midnight. Lu Chuan dismounted in front of the Lu mansion. Gu Xiaorao, who had been waiting for a long time, came over, and the servants on the side led the horses into the mansion. How is the situation? Have you found the murderer? Lu Chuan walked into the mansion quickly. I'll tell you later. Go back and rest first. I will definitely find the murderer tomorrow. Tomorrow? Do we still need to invest more people in our mine? Let's continue to operate it. I will find the murderer and kill them all tomorrow. Lu Chuan looked back at Li Zunying and said, you go and do this in person tomorrow, and you can come back after you take the people there. I know. I'll do it tomorrow morning. Lu Chuan nodded slightly and then took Gu Xiaorao into the mansion. It was late at night and Lu Chuan went to bed immediately after returning to the mansion. The next morning, Li Zunying got up early, took a few servants from the mansion and left, and began to recruit miners everywhere in the city. After that, he set off with his men to the mine on Xianlang Mountain. After Lu Chuan woke up in the morning, he moved around in the yard. Gu Xiaorao walked over quickly and said to Lu Chuan, someone is here to visit you. Go over and meet him. Who is it? Dan Fangsheng. Why is he here? Maybe he hasn't contacted me for a long time, so he came to catch up, or maybe for something else. Lu Chuan nodded slightly and walked towards the gate of the Lu mansion. When he arrived at the gate, Lu Chuan saw Dong Fangcheng standing at the gate, pacing back and forth slowly, waiting for Lu Chuan's arrival boredly. Lu Chuan walked towards him and said with a smile, "Master Dong Fangcheng, why did you think of coming to see me?" "Master Lu, I came to see you today, mainly because I heard that something happened at your mine, so I came to ask, do you need our help?" Lu Chuan shook his head slightly. "Don't worry, I can handle it by myself." "That's good. If you need our help, just tell me. By the way, have you found the murderer?" Lu Chuan lowered his voice and said, "I roughly guessed it, but it's hard to say whether I can find it specifically." "Roughly guessed it? Well, it seems that you have an idea. I think it was done by the city lord." Lu Chuan nodded and asked, "Do you think he did it too?" "Of course, in the entire Lin city, who else has the courage to attack the Lu mansion? Apart from the city lord, there is really no other force. Have you ever thought about what if it was done by some force outside, such as bandits on a hill?" Dong Fangcheng frowned slightly when he heard this. "What you said is possible, but I think the possibility is too low. It is very likely that the city lord did it." Lu Chuan patted Dong Fangcheng on the shoulder. "I also suspect it was him, but now I have no evidence, no handle, so I can't rush to attack him. Now, I'm just waiting for an opportunity." "Wait for them to attack again?" Dong Fangcheng asked. "Yes, I have to wait for them to attack again." Chapter 806, Lure Out. Lu Chuan and Dong Fangcheng were sitting in the yard, drinking tea and reminiscing about the past, having a very pleasant chat. Not long after, Li Zunying came in. He walked quickly towards Lu Chuan. "Brother, I have brought the people over and asked them to start preparing to continue working. What should we do next?" After thinking for a moment, Lu Chuan said, "Find some people to observe at the door. If we see any suspicious people leaving the city, we will follow them." Li Zunying nodded heavily. "I'll tell someone to do it right away." Lu Chuan continued to ponder and suddenly raised his hand to stop Li Zunying. "Let's just leave the city and wait for the group of people halfway. Otherwise, I always feel uneasy." Lu Chuan put down the teacup and stood up. Dong Fangcheng also stood up quickly, looked at Lu Chuan, and said, "How about I go with you? You can't help much if you go. I want to see if that group of people are the city lord's men. If they are, I will come back to inform Dongfang Mansion immediately and will never interfere with your next action. If you want to kill the city lord, you can do it at will." Hearing this, Lu Chuan smiled and looked at Dong Fangcheng. "With your words, I'm more confident. Let's go out of the city together. By the way, I know a secret passage that allows us to leave Linqing without passing through the door." Dong Fangcheng stuck to Lu Chuan's side and said carefully. Hearing this, Lu Chuan smiled and patted his shoulder. "Really? Then take us there quickly." Then, the servants prepared 3 horses and led them all the way to the door. Lu Chuan, Li Zunying, and Dong Fangcheng were ready to leave Lu Mansion together. After leaving Lu Mansion, Lu Chuan and Li Zunying followed Dong Fangcheng, and the 3 of them came to an abandoned wooden house on the edge of the city. This wooden house was once one of our industries. It was a recruitment point. At that time, our Dongfang Mansion was the largest spiritual medicine planting family in Linqing. The spiritual medicine produced on more than a dozen hills outside belonged to us to pick, but with the increasing lack of spiritual energy, this industry gradually weakened. Now, this place is abandoned. We once dug an underground passage here to deliver goods, so as to avoid entering from the city gate. If we enter from the city gate, it would be too conspicuous. At that time, our business was booming, and we were afraid that others would be jealous of us, so we dug a tunnel specifically. Anyway, we can reach the outside of the city through this tunnel. As he introduced, he got off the horse, tied the horse aside, and walked into the abandoned wooden house with Lu Chuan and the other 2. As soon as he walked in, he smelled a rotten mold smell. This place has been in disrepair for a long time, and is now in a dilapidated state, but the good thing is that no one will pay attention to it. Come on, go down from here, we will enter the tunnel, and we can leave Linqing quietly. Dong Fangcheng came to a wooden board, cleaned the dust and fallen leaves on it, and lifted the rotten board. Then, a tunnel appeared in Lu Chuan's eyes. After the 3 of them entered one after another, they began to move forward along the dark tunnel. Lu Chuan raised his left hand, and a ball of sun god fire appeared in his palm. Under the reflection of the fire, the three of them walked quickly through the tunnel. After about 10 minutes, they reached the end. Following the stairs to the ground, the three of them appeared in the wilderness. Finally coming out, Lu Chuan glanced around. This was a wilderness, and there was no human habitation around. Now we are out, but we didn't prepare horses. How can we leave here on horseback? Li Zunying asked curiously. How about I go back? Lu Chuan shook his head. No need, let's go to the road ahead and ambush next to it. If we see that team leaving the city, we will stop them directly. After Lu Chuan finished speaking, he took the two people to the roadside and began to ambush. It is hard to say whether he can wait for people, but at present, Lu Chuan firmly believes that he has not been exposed yet, and the city lord definitely does not know who he has found out who the murderer is, so he will most likely continue to send people out of the city to continue to attack the mines of Lu Mansion. Lu Chuan waited for a while on the side of the road, hiding in the bushes, hiding his figure as much as possible. Suddenly, Lu Chuan saw a team riding forward from a distance. This team was obviously very different from the other passers-by. There were more than a dozen people, all riding fast horses, hurrying on the road, as if there was something urgent. The target is here, get ready to act. After Lu Chuan finished speaking, he drew the soul-breaking sword from his back. If these dozen people are all at the level of martial emperor, then he must do his best to deal with them. Otherwise, they would probably be beaten up and put at a disadvantage. Just as the horse team was about to ride over, Lu Chuan suddenly rushed out and stood in the middle of the road. Li Zunying, holding the dagger tightly in both hands, one hand holding it straight and the other hand holding it backward, was ready to take action at any time. At this moment, the team suddenly pulled the reins, and all the horses were stopped at the same time. Then, the leader looked at Lu Chuan and shouted loudly, "Who dares to block our way? Don't want to live?" Everyone in front of him was wearing a mask, and they couldn't see their appearance clearly. Lu Chuan tightly grasped the soul-breaking sword, looked at them, and said coldly, "Don't you know me, you guys? My name is Lu Chuan." When the leader heard the word Lu Chuan, he was shocked, leaned back, and looked at Lu Chuan in surprise. You are Lu Chuan? Why did you stop us?" he asked back. Lu Chuan couldn't help but laugh. "Why should I stop you? You don't know what's going on, right? You guys are addicted to it, right?" The captain who took the lead immediately retorted, "We don't know what you are talking about. What's over and over again? It has nothing to do with us." Behind him, the others whispered, and they were all surprised by the situation. "You are the city lord's men, right?" "Yes, so what? What do you want to do? Since you are the city lord's men, why do you wear masks when you go out? Obviously you are doing something shameful. I know exactly what you are going to do next. Do you think I don't know? You know exactly what we are going to do. Don't be ridiculous. We are just out hunting. We are not going to do anything else. You are thinking too much." Lu Chuan sneered and continued to ask, "Where are we going hunting? Are we going to hunt at the mine of our Lu Mansion?" As soon as these words came out, the captain immediately scolded, "Lu Chuan, something happened in your mansion. Don't throw dirty water on us. You slander us out of thin air. Aren't you afraid of offending the city lord?" He scolded harshly, obviously reacting strongly to Lu Chuan's words. Chapter 807. Ambush on the road. The group of people in front of him were blocked by Lu Chuan, and what they said was also suspicious. Lu Chuan has determined that it was this group of people who did it. It is very likely that they did it twice yesterday. Lu Chuan no longer intends to let this group of people leave. He wants to put an end to them here. "City Lord, I was going to kill him, but since he's honest, I didn't bother to deal with him. I didn't expect that he would attack me first. It's really interesting. Is he brave or not? Or did someone give him the courage, like Lu Bexun? I don't know, but I don't need to doubt you guys anymore. You are the murderer sent by Wan Changdang." Upon hearing this, the captain pulled out a machete from the saddle. "Lu Chuan, don't continue to provoke us. We are not afraid of you. You are a martial saint. We know how powerful you are, but we are more than a dozen people. We are not vegetarians." "Really? Then come on, let me see your strength." Seeing that Lu Chuan was not afraid and continued to provoke arrogantly, the city guards were all at a loss. If they were asked to fight, they would not dare to fight. Although they had never seen the power of the martial saint, they had heard about how strong the martial saints were. That strength is completely overwhelming. When facing the martial emperor realm, Lu Chuan tightly grasped the soul-breaking sword and released the sun god fire with his left hand, ready for battle. The captain dismounted and held the machete tightly. A sharp wind was constantly gathering on the blade. He stared at Lu Chuan and asked again, "Lu Chuan, do you really want to fight with us? You are a strong man in the martial saint realm. If you fight with us, you may not be able to gain an advantage. Do you think that I, a martial saint realm, will fight with you? If it were only me, your city lord would not be afraid of me, let alone do such a thing secretly." What? What do you mean by this? Could it be that there are still strong men in the martial saint realm in Lin City? At the same time, Dan Fangcheng looked at Li Zunying curiously. With your strength in the martial saint realm, you should be able to crush your opponent with Lu Chuan, right? Li Zunying just nodded silently and then walked out of the bushes with a dagger in his hand. After he walked out, everyone in the city guard team looked over. When they saw Li Zunying, they couldn't help but murmur. Could it be that this man in black is also a strong man in the martial saint realm? Lu Chuan, you really want to fight us, right? If you fight us, it means that you are fighting with Wan Changdang, and we are irreconcilable with you. Lu Chuan said disdainfully. Stop talking nonsense. Prepare to die. Swish. Lu Chuan pressed the sun god fire on the sword body. The hot and bright flames kept jumping on the sword body. Seeing such a high temperature flame, everyone's heartbeat quickened, and they were terrified. Swish. Lu Chuan didn't waste time talking to them, and directly swung out the soul-breaking sword. The fierce sword energy shot out instantly, and shot towards the crowd. Get out of the way. The captain shouted, then swung his long sword, and a stream of air was released instantly, returning the sword energy shot by Lu Chuan. Bang! The airflows of the swords and knives of both sides collided with each other, making a harsh sound. However, the airflow released by the captain was submerged in the flames and disappeared almost instantly. Swish! Exclamation mark. Lu Chuan's flaming sword energy hit the captain's chest. The next moment, the captain was knocked out and fell heavily to the ground. His chest was bloody and charred, and even the heavy breastplate was smashed to pieces. He could not withstand Lu Chuan's attack at all. In order to avoid this sword energy, the crowd fled in a panic and the formation immediately dispersed. Suddenly, Li Zunying's figure appeared behind one person. "You are dead," Li Zunying said in a cold tone without emotion. Swish. The next moment, a dagger flashing with cold light was swung out, instantly separating the head of a person. Then, Lu Chuan launched another attack, not giving the group of people a chance to breathe. The two of them, one in front and one behind, like a wolf entering a flock of sheep, began to ruthlessly kill the gang. Dan Fangcheng, who was hiding and watching the battle, couldn't help but sigh when he saw this bloody scene. The gap in strength between the martial emperor realm and the martial saint realm was simply shocking. In less than 5 minutes, most of the group of people were killed or injured. After a while, Lu Chuan killed all of them. Only one person threw away his armor and took the opportunity to escape from here during the fierce battle between the two sides. Lu Chuan took out a handkerchief and wiped off the blood stains on the sword. After cleaning, he put the sword back into the scabbard. Li Zunying came to Lu Chuan and asked respectfully, "Boss, do you need me to chase the survivor?" "No, let him go back and report the news. I want to see if Wan Changdang dares to come and cause trouble for me. Then let him go. Now that the enemy has been eliminated, our mind can operate normally." Lu Chuan nodded slightly. The key still depends on the city lord. If he doesn't continue to cause trouble, then it can operate normally. "Boss, let's go in directly and kill that bastard. His men are almost dead, and the rest are all garbage. That is not worthy of the eyes. It will be easier to clean up." Lu Chuan looked back at Dan Fangcheng and said, "Let's go back to the city first." Dan Fangcheng walked out of the bushes and walked towards the scattered horses around. "Let's just ride on these people's horses and go back. If we walk back, I'm afraid we still have to walk a distance." Dan Fangcheng found a relatively docile black horse. After riding on it, he swung the reins and prepared to return to Lincheng. Lu Chuan and Li Zunying also found a horse each. After getting on the horse, they began to rush towards Lincheng. Along the way, they did not see the fleeing figure. It was estimated that the guy was hiding in the wasteland nearby. Lu Chuan did not care about that and rode back to Lincheng. After returning to Lu Mansion, Lu Chuan began to prepare a plan on how to kill the city lord. At the same time, in the city lord's mansion, a figure hurried back. He threw away all the armor on his body, leaving only a thin layer of clothes underneath. He ran towards the city lord's mansion in a daze, shouting as he ran, "Something bad has happened." Soon, he was taken to the city lord's mansion, and then he came to the study in the city lord's mansion. In the study, Wan Changdong was sitting on a wooden chair, reading an unknown ancient book. "Lord City Lord, it's bad. It's bad. All the people in our team are dead." He walked in crying. Hearing this, Wan Changdong quickly stood up and walked towards him. "What's going on? Why are all the people dead? What happened?" It was Lu Chuan. "He intercepted us halfway and killed us all. He knew it was us. He knew it a long time ago." Chapter 808. Wait and see. In the study, Wan Changdong paced back and forth with a sad face. "Lu Chuan, that guy was so cruel that he killed so many of my people, and only you are still alive. This kid is very thoughtful. I thought he was stubborn, so I continued to send people to the mine to work. I didn't expect that this kid immediately saw the clues. In that case, we have to find a way to deal with them. Lord City Lord, but we have suffered heavy losses now. If we fight him now, we are afraid that we will fall into a disadvantage." Wan Changdong took a deep breath, stood in front of his subordinate, grabbed his shoulders, and pulled him up. "You go out and let the city guards train. There may be a fight soon, and we can't slack off anymore." "Okay, I'll lead the troops to train now. Then City Lord, you have to think about how to deal with Lu Chuan's next attack. This is a matter of life and death," he reminded nervously. Wan Changdong nodded and waved his hand. "Go out, don't disturb my thinking." He turned and left, and the study became empty again, with only him left in the room. "The plan has changed," Wan Changdong muttered with a gloomy face. At this moment, in the corner of the study, a figure in a black robe slowly walked out. "You asked me to do it. Now that you are in this situation, you must be responsible." Wan Changdong looked at the other party and said fiercely, "Are you afraid of that guy?" The man asked indifferently in a cold voice. Wan Changdong replied unhappily, "Nonsense, he wants to kill me. How can I not be afraid? With me here, he can't kill you, and the two of us can kill him together." "How to do it?" Wan Changdong stared at the man in black robe in front of him. His only hope now was on the man in front of him. He looked out the window, smiled faintly, and said disapprovingly, "It's very simple. In the eyes of that boy, you are now a lamb to be slaughtered. He can bring his followers to kill you at any time. Then what we have to do next is very simple. You stay here honestly. I will set up a trap. If he dares to come here, the two of us will join forces to kill him." He said it very confidently, as if he was sure that this would happen. "What if he doesn't come to me?" Wan Changdong looked at the other party suspiciously, thinking that his words were unreliable. "Impossible. He will definitely come to find you. He has never been afraid of anyone along the way. He will definitely not be afraid of you. As long as he thinks he has the strength to kill you, he will definitely come to find you and kill you." Wan Changdong took a deep breath. "Then when he comes to our door, can we kill him together?" "Of course, you have verified my strength. I can definitely kill that guy. What you have to do is very simple. Just hold back his followers. I will fight him one-on-one. He will definitely not be my opponent." The man in black said very confidently. "Okay, I believe you once. As long as we can succeed, I will still be the boss in Lincheng, and Dongfang Mansion and Lu Mansion will be weakened, and I will break through to the Martial Saint realm. In the future, I will be like an emperor in Lincheng." He shouted excitedly, his mouth almost grinning to his ears. "By the way, why do you want to kill that guy? Do you have a grudge against him?" The black-robed man smiled and said, "He has something I really need, and I have to take it. This kid has really been causing trouble outside. Well, in that case, let's get ready. We all have the idea of killing Lu Chuan. The black-robed man turned and left, saying, "Watch his movements, and tell me as soon as you have any news." "No problem, don't worry, I will definitely." At the same time, Lu Chuan returned to the Lu mansion. In the courtyard, Lu Chuan sat in front of the stone table, and Gu Xiaorao brought 3 cups of tea and placed them on the table. Lu Chuan looked at Li Zunying and Dong Fangcheng. "How about it? Let's work together to kill the city lord." "No problem, I can bring people from Dongfang Mansion to support you. Once the city lord is dead, we will have no enemies in Lincheng." Lu Chuan laughed. "Of course, in that case, let's make a plan, and then find a suitable opportunity. We will start immediately." At this time, Gu Xiaorao, who was standing aside, said with some concerns, "Didn't the city lord surrender to you before? You are so much stronger than him, you can kill him at any time. Why would he dare to trip you up?" Lu Chuan frowned slightly. He really didn't consider what Gu Xiaorao said. "Do you think there is a problem here? Of course, he doesn't need to compete with you for the mine. He seems to be deliberately provoking you, making you angry, and then making you take action. He seems to do it on purpose." Dong Fangcheng looked up at Gu Xiaorao and sighed. "What you said makes some sense. It's true. This guy's behavior is too abnormal, absolutely not normal." Lu Chuan picked up the teacup and took 2 sips, then continued, "Otherwise, that guy has a new helper. Now that Liu Beixuan is dead, his ambition has been shattered. There must be other people who gave him the confidence to dare to do this. Then who do you think it could be? Or is it that force?" After thinking for a moment, Lu Chuan remembered the branch of the sacred tree on his body. "Maybe, it's an enemy from farther away who came for the things on me. If someone from the Lu family came here, they wouldn't act secretly. If that's the case, then let's get ready and prepare to face new enemies." Dong Fangcheng continued to ask, "If that's the case, then do we still have to trouble the city lord?" "No, let's put it aside for now. This time, I killed more than a dozen of his martial emperors, while he only killed a few groups of miners. He's the one who's suffering now, and he's the one who should be anxious. If that's the case, then we'll just wait and see and find an opportunity to take action." "That's right, Dong Fangcheng. Go back to the Dongfang mansion first and take care of the family affairs. In the next few days, we won't provoke the city lord for the time being. Let him do whatever he wants." Dong Fangcheng picked up the teacup and drank it all. "I understand. If that's the case, then I'll go back first, and when you need my help, just send someone to find me." He put down the teacup, got up and left the courtyard. "Then what should we do next? Continue to wait?" Gu Xiaorao asked. "Just wait and see. You just need to learn more about family affairs and take care of the business in the mansion." Chapter 809, Dongfang City disappears. For several days in a row, Lu Chuan was sitting still and did not make any moves. Every day, he would walk in the beautiful courtyard and then enter the state of concentrating on cultivation in his room. In a few days, the mine of the Lu Mansion in Xianlang Mountain was successfully started and began to operate normally. During this period, Wan Changdong did not launch any attacks on the mine. He seemed to be much more obedient. The mine of Xianlang Mountain alone is enough to produce thousands of taels of gold every day. Such a fortune is absolutely enviable. Even Dongfang Mansion and Wan Changdong would be jealous of this income. However, wealth can only fall into the hands of powerful people. Even if the weak get the money, they can't keep it. A few days later, in the city lord's mansion, in the study, Wan Changdong was handling the affairs of the city. More than a dozen martial emperors died in a row, and his city lord's mansion city guards were suddenly much emptier. He also knew that he was in a weak state now, and if he continued to act rashly, it might add fuel to the fire. After finishing the matter at hand, he leaned back in his chair, looked at the ceiling, and rubbed his red eyes. "Why is there no movement?" The man in black next to him came out and said disapprovingly, "Are you looking forward to him attacking you?" "Of course, you said that, as long as he dares to break in here and attack me, we can join forces to kill him." The man in black shrugged helplessly, "But he didn't come. He must have been alerted to something." "Impossible. You come and go without a trace. He can't know your existence. It stands to reason that he should come to trouble me. What is going on?" He scratched his head in distress. Alas. Now his mine continues to be put into production, and the money he makes every day is enviable. If I control that vein of minerals, even if I don't sell it for money, I can still make a batch of sophisticated equipment and expand my team. Don't worry, he will take action against you sooner or later, and he won't let you go. Wan Changdong clasped his hands together and bowed to the man in black. Thank you, your words really comfort me. Okay, wait, if he doesn't take action, you continue to attack and provoke him, and he will sooner or later get restless. But, I have no one under my command. How can I provoke him? Should I do it myself? There are not many Martial Emperor Realm powerhouses left. Most of them are Martial King Realm and lower warriors. I count on them. They can't even see Lu Chuan. He sighed helplessly. He was still heartbroken for the subordinates he lost some time ago. The man in black said helplessly, in that case, then I'll take action. You finally want to take action. I'm counting on you. What do you plan to do? The man in black continued. I certainly can't go find Lu Chuan. If I meet him, I may not have a chance of winning. After all, he has a helper in the Martial Saint realm with him, and his combat effectiveness is not bad. In that case, then I can only target the Danfang family. Wan Changdong's eyes lit up. Are you planning to take action against the Danfang family? They seem to have some relationship with Lu Chuan. If you take action against them, you might really anger Lu Chuan. That's right, I can only go find them. Well, who do you plan to start with? Wan Changdong looked at the man in black curiously. Of course it's Dan Fangcheng. He has a close relationship with Lu Chuan. If he dies, Lu Chuan will definitely make trouble for you. Hearing this, Wan Changdong slammed the table angrily and stood up. He loudly retorted, no, you can't do anything to Dan Fangcheng. Don't you know his identity? He is the young master of the Danfang family and the son of the head of the Danfang family. Do you dare to touch him? Do you believe that everyone in the Danfang family will flatten lynching in the next moment? By then, even if I can get Lu Chuan, what will happen? Is it possible for me to continue to be the Lord of Lincheng? The man in black shook his head helplessly. You are a lord of the city. Why are you so cowardly? Okay, since you have concerns, then I will kidnap that bastard. How about it? Okay, kidnap him. Lu Chuan will definitely find someone, and in the end, he will most likely find this place. Wan Changdong readily accepted the black-clothed man's proposal. In that case, I will take action and bring the person back before night. After speaking, the black-clothed man turned and left, his figure disappearing into the darkness. In the evening, Lu Chuan was walking in the yard. When it was time for dinner, Gu Xiaosang ran over to find Lu Chuan. Dear Lord Lu, what are you doing here? She ran over and looked at Lu Chuan with a smile. Just walking around. Let's go. It's time for dinner. My sister has been waiting for you for a long time. She stepped forward, grabbed Lu Chuan's sleeve, and led him to the kitchen. How has your sister been managing the mansion recently? Do those people listen to her? Gu Xiaosang sighed. There are a few troublemakers, but as soon as my sister brings you out, those troublemakers will give in. Now that you are still here, my sister will naturally be able to manage them. That's good. At this time, a figure hurried over and caught up with Lu Chuan and hurriedly said respectfully, Master, someone from the Danfang family is here to visit. Who is visiting? Is it Dan Fangcheng? No, it's the master of the Danfang family, Dan Fangchengzi. He hurried to the door and said that he must see you. Something big is happening. What big thing? Didn't he tell you? I asked, and he said that he must see you before he can tell you. Lu Chuan frowned slightly, then turned around and walked towards the door. In that case, then I will go to see him and see what the big thing he is talking about is. Lu Chuan quickly came to the door of the Lu mansion and saw Dan Fangchengzi pacing back and forth anxiously. His face was full of worry and anxiety. When he saw Lu Chuan coming, he hurriedly went to meet him. Mr. Lu, something terrible has happened in our house. Lu Chuan quickly comforted him. Don't worry, take your time. Let's talk over here. After pulling Lu Chuan aside, he glanced around and made sure that no one heard him. Then he said carefully, just now, Dan Fangcheng disappeared. Lu Chuan frowned and asked quickly, is it true? How could a person disappear? It's absolutely true. I went to knock on his door, but no one responded after knocking for a long time. So I pushed the door open and walked in to see that he was not in the room. The most important thing is that there are signs of fighting in the room, and there is some blood on the ground. Hearing this, Lu Chuan's face suddenly became gloomy. Who dares to do something to him? Chapter 810 Final Battle. Dan Fang Changzi shook his head helplessly. I don't know who dares to do anything to him. He is the son of the head of the Dan Fang family. Anyone who wants to do something to him should think twice before doing anything to him. I dare not let others know about this. In the mansion, only a few people know about this situation. What we are afraid of is that this news will spread out. If it gets to the head of the family, I'm afraid I will lose my head. Mr. Lu, I came here to ask you to help find Dan Fangcheng's whereabouts. Lu Chuan nodded slightly. He has helped me a lot. I will find a way to find him back. Don't worry. It's useless to worry. Look around. Okay, I'll send someone to find him. By the way, who do you think the murderer might be? He looked at Lu Chuan expectantly, hoping to get some answers from Lu Chuan. I'm afraid there is only one suspect. Who? Dan Fang Changzi asked hurriedly. Wan Changdang. The city lord? Impossible. There is no conflict of interest between them. It is impossible for him to do it. If he did it, what is his motive? Why would he do it? Lu Chuan shrugged. You go back and find him first. I will bring him to see you when I have news. If you can find him, you must bring him back as soon as possible. I'm very anxious. It is no use to be anxious. Try to find him. Dan Fang Changzi sighed helplessly, turned around and walked out of the Lu mansion in a daze. He looked lost and lost his soul. It can be seen that this incident has dealt a great blow to him. Lu Chuan took a deep breath. He never expected that Wan Changdang would be so bold that he actually had the idea of shooting Dan Fangcheng. It seems that Wan Changdang is determined to force himself to do it. Lu Chuan turned and walked towards the mansion of the mansion lord. After returning to the mansion, Lu Chuan quickly picked up his soul-breaking sword and took the branch of the sacred tree with him and prepared to go out. Seeing this, Gu Xiaorao, who had prepared dinner, stood up and walked towards Lu Chuan. What happened? Seeing Lu Chuan in a hurry to go out, she had a bad feeling. Lu Chuan nodded slightly. Yes, something happened. Dan Fangcheng was kidnapped. Ah. Gu Xiaorao looked at Lu Chuan in surprise. Who dares to kidnap him? The city lord. I don't think there will be anyone else. The city lord definitely wouldn't dare to do that. He must have been emboldened and given the confidence by others. Gu Xiaorao guessed. Lu Chuan nodded slightly. I think so too. I'm going to go out now and ask the city lord for an explanation. It's not that I'm going to ask for an explanation. That guy deserves to die. He should have died a long time ago. It's even a little late to do it now. Once the city lord dies, lynching will be in chaos. Gu Xiaorao said worriedly. There's nothing we can do. He's asking for his own death now. Even if I want to save his life, he won't have that chance. He hung the scabbard on his body and walked out of the door. Gu Xiaorao looked at Lu Chuan and reminded him, be careful, beware of their trap. Don't worry, I know. Lu Chuan left the Lu mansion quickly. After returning to the room, Gu Xiaorao sat at the dining table and continued to eat dinner. As soon as she picked up a piece of food with chopsticks, she put the chopsticks down weakly. I hope he can come back safely. Gu Xiaosang was calm and ate the food without taking it seriously. Sister, you worry too much. Lu Chuan will definitely kill that guy. Lu Chuan is facing an unknown enemy now. If he is only dealing with the city lord, then it's fine. I won't worry. I know his strength and can beat the city lord. But he is facing an unknown enemy. We don't know what the enemy looks like or how strong he is, so I'm worried. Gu Xiaosang frowned curiously. New enemy? No wonder Wan Changdang suddenly became confident. It turns out that he has the help of a master. However, should we take the people in the mansion to help? No, we can't help, and we may even cause trouble. Let's eat well. Gu Xiaorao sighed helplessly, picked up the rice bowl, and continued to eat dinner. At the same time, Lu Chuan walked out of the Lu mansion, and Li Zunying followed him. Brother, is it time to take action now? Wan Changdang actually attacked Dan Fangcheng. In that case, I won't indulge him. Li Zunying reminded He did it on purpose, to lure us over there. If we go over Ashley, it might be dangerous. Lu Chuan raised his hand and put it on Li Zuniying's shoulder, saying, Dong Fangcheng has helped me a lot. Can I just stand by and watch him die? But you have also helped him a lot. Logically, we should be even. Lu Chuan shook his head slightly. If I stand by and watch him die, who will be willing to cooperate with me in the future? If Dong Fangcheng is not dead, how will he look at me? Let's do it. Even if we really encounter a powerful enemy that we cannot solve, I still have one last trick. In short, the two of us will not die here. Lu Chuan walked towards the inner city, with Li Zuniying following behind him. Brother, both of us are at the level of Martial Saint. Logically, we are definitely not afraid of them. Why should we be so cautious? Even if he can find a helper, he won't be too strong. After all, if they are strong enough, there is no need to go around in circles here. Lu Chuan continued to move forward. No matter who helps him, I have the ability to kill him. You can rest assured that we will not stop here. With what you said, I feel relieved. Li Zuniying followed Lu Chuan closely. Taking advantage of the dusk, the two came to the gate of the inner city. When the guards at the gate saw that it was Lu Chuan, they directly made way and opened the gate. I haven't asked yet, but you have consciously opened the door. It seems that you all know what I'm here for, right? Lu Chuan glanced at the guards, sneered, and then walked through the gate. The guards on both sides looked at each other and smiled disapprovingly. In their eyes, Lu Chuan's entry into this gate was equivalent to entering the gate of hell, and there was no possibility of getting out. After Lu Chuan entered the inner city, he saw that it had become much quieter. Usually, he could see soldiers training here, but today, there was no one to be seen. Lu Chuan walked to the training square, which was a large open flatland. From a distance, Lu Chuan saw Wan Changdong. He stood there, opened his arms, and laughed at Lu Chuan. Welcome, Mr. Lu. I have waited a long time, and finally you are here. He shouted excitedly. Chapter 811 First Fight. Lu Chuan came to the square and saw Wan Changdong at a glance. He walked towards Lu Chuan, opened his arms, and showed an excited smile on his face. Lu Chuan walked towards him quickly, and Li Zuniying followed closely. He looked around and saw no figure around. He came to Lu Chuan and reminded him, there is no one around here. I think there is a trap here. Lu Chuan said disapprovingly, of course there is a trap, but can we not come? This Wan Changdong, he is dead today. I will not let him go. Lu Chuan's tone was firm. His eyes stared at Wan Changdong's figure. His expression was serious. Seeing this, Wan Changdong stopped and looked at Lu Chuan with a smile. Mr. Lu, you are here to find someone, right? Dong Fangcheng is here with you. Hand him over. I can let you die quickly. You are very brave. I'm the mayor of Lincheng, the person in power here. How dare you talk to me like this? He looked at Lu Chuan with full confidence. Lu Chuan sneered, the one in power. You think too highly of yourself. I spared your life, only because I didn't want to see Lincheng fall into chaos. You're just not giving up. If that's the case, I'll send you off. You're asking for death yourself, so you can't blame me. Really? Dong Fangcheng is in my hands. If you dare to do it, I'll kill that bastard. I want to see if the alliance between you and him is indestructible. He said arrogantly. Lu Chuan said disdainfully, I bet you don't have the guts at all. I don't have the guts. You're talking nonsense. He refuted harshly. Lu Chuan continued, if you had the guts, you wouldn't have chosen to live in disgrace on the mountain and watched Liu Beixuan die. You are a spineless and cowardly guy. You can become the city lord only because you have a large group of brothers who are willing to work for you and your slightly promising talent. Lu Chuan continued, I'm going to attack you now. Do you dare to do it? I don't think you have the courage. Lu Chuan walked slowly towards Wan Changdong. Every step he took made Wan Changdong's face look a little uglier. Wan Changdong stared at Lu Chuan. His eyes became gloomy, and he was slightly angry. He clenched his fists. Lu Chuan's words obviously hit his heart, making him very unhappy. He stared at Lu Chuan like a vulture, as if he was staring at his prey. Lu Chuan, you've said enough nonsense. Now, it's time to start. I'm going to fight you today. It's a one-on-one fight between the two of us. No outsiders can interfere. How about that? As for that Dong Fangcheng, I can keep him alive for now. Do you dare to fight me? Hearing this, Lu Chuan burst into laughter. Ha 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 ha, you can actually say this. In that case, I'll fight you one-on-one. I want to see where you get the confidence from. Lu Chuan walked quickly towards Wan Changdong. Seeing this, Wan Changdong's face became solemn. He stared at Lu Chuan, took a few steps back, and began to take a deep breath. Seeing this, Lu Chuan asked, "Are you scared?" "Of course not. I didn't dare to fight you before, but because I just broke through to the martial saint realm and haven't completely adapted to the strength of this realm, I'm fully prepared now. You're dead today. I never regard you as an opponent. If you fight me, you will only die. I'm just interested in the person behind you. Who gave you the confidence to challenge me?" Lu Chuan asked loudly. Wan Changdong sneered and said disdainfully, "You are not qualified to know. You must defeat me first, before you are qualified to know the person behind me. He will be an insurmountable mountain for you. You only need to understand, now that you will die, after entering this inner city. There is no other way. I advise you to face the reality. I gave you the qualification to fight alone, but I just used you to practice," he said with great disdain, as if he had already won the game, and had already defeated Lu Chuan. Lu Chuan began to think seriously in his heart. The person behind this guy must be very powerful. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to have such great confidence. Lu Chuan raised his right hand and pulled the soul-breaking sword out of its scabbard. The soul-breaking sword is a top-grade immortal weapon. It's such a waste for you to have such a treasure in your hands. You don't deserve to wield such a precious sword. Wan Changdong shouted arrogantly, and then he pulled out a long sword from his waist. The blade glowed with a silvery cold light, and the blade was so sharp that it seemed to be able to cut a hair. After he took out the long sword, he raised his hand and pointed the tip of the sword at Lu Chuan. "Today, I will show you the strength of my Seat City Lord." At this moment, behind Wan Changdong, a figure like a spirit suddenly appeared, attached to his back, and emitted a faint fluorescence. The blue spirit followed his body and changed with his body movements. He turned his wrist and turned the long sword in his hand, and behind him, the spirit also made the same movement. This is a martial saint fighting spirit possessed by the martial saint realm. Such a powerful fighting spirit can greatly enhance the combat effectiveness of the main body. During the battle, the speed, strength and senses are all strengthened. He stared at Lu Chuan with his eyes and said disdainfully, "Show me your martial arts fighting spirit. Let me see what strength you have." Lu Chuan said disdainfully, "I don't need to do that. Just start fighting. I will kill you. You are so arrogant. Today I will teach you a lesson." The next moment, Wan Changdong rushed towards Lu Chuan. Swish. His body rushed out first, and the martial arts fighting spirit behind him followed closely, following the arc of his movement, and coming behind him. Then, he swung out his long sword, and chopped down from top to bottom at Lu Chuan. Swish. Lu Chuan quickly stepped back and dodged Wan Changdong's attack. Then, Lu Chuan stabbed out with a sword, stepped forward, and attacked Wan Changdong with a sharp sword. Wan Changdong saw this, and his heart tightened. He never expected that Lu Chuan's speed would be so fast. But he hasn't activated his martial arts fighting spirit yet. Suddenly, Wan Changdong looked at Lu Chuan and began to wonder. "Aren't you following the path of martial arts? It's really rare. No wonder you are so different from me." Swish! Exclamation mark. The sword stabbed at Wan Changdong. He could not afford to hesitate any longer and quickly retreated dozens of steps to avoid Lu Chuan's fierce attack. Lu Chuan rushed forward with the sword again, not giving Wan Changdong a chance to breathe, and continued to launch uninterrupted combos at him. Wan Changdong quickly raised his long sword and swung it out continuously, constantly blocking Lu Chuan's attack. Wan Changdong, who was aggressive at the beginning, fell into a disadvantage in an instant. Although he was almost the same as Lu Chuan in strength, Lu Chuan held a fairy weapon and had a strong physique of the Xuanhuang immortal body, so he could always suppress him. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 812 Overdraft Potential. Lu Chuan's continuous attack left Wan Changdong with no power to fight back. He retreated several steps in a row, cold sweat dripping down his forehead, and his breathing became much more rapid. His eyes were hurriedly locked on the blade in Lu Chuan's hand, and he dared not distract his attention for a moment. In such a highly concentrated battle, he soon felt tired. He took a deep breath, retreated more than 10 meters in a row, and after temporarily pulling away, he stared at Lu Chuan with his eyes. "You kid, your strength is really not to be underestimated. I underestimated you. In that case, then I won't waste time. I'll fight you right here to the end and let you know how powerful I am." Swish. Suddenly, he held the long sword with both hands, took a deep breath, and began to circulate his energy in his body. Then, streams of air lingered on the blade. After wisps of air gathered on the blade, he clenched his teeth, held the long sword tightly, and swung it towards Lu Chuan. Extinction Storm Slash. A sword energy with a sound of breaking through the air was suddenly released towards Lu Chuan. Swish. This sharp sword energy was like a hurricane that swept everything, rushing towards Lu Chuan, with a swift speed and mighty power. Seeing this, Lu Chuan did not hesitate, and directly raised his left hand, to gather the sun's divine fire in his palm. Then, Lu Chuan covered the divine fire on the sword body. A sword energy with flames had already condensed. Lu Chuan did not have time to hesitate for a moment, and just wanted to send this sword energy out as soon as possible, otherwise he would be hurt. Swish. Lu Chuan also swung out his sword energy and attacked Wan Changdong. The sword energies of both sides collided with each other, making a violent explosion sound. Boom. Sparks flew, and countless flames spread out, like a rain of fire falling all around. The sword energy released by Wan Changdong broke through the flame sword energy and still attacked Lu Chuan fiercely. Seeing this, Lu Chuan did not hesitate to block the sword in front of him. After being weakened, this sword energy could no longer cause fatal injuries to Lu Chuan. As long as the sword body blocked well enough, the damage could be blocked. Clang, the sword energy collided with the sword body of the soul-breaking sword in Lu Chuan's hand, and a dazzling spark splashed out. Buzz. A series of piercing buzzing sounds came out, and Lu Chuan's hands were shaking uncontrollably. Although the buzzing sound could not be stopped, fortunately, Lu Chuan blocked this sword energy. Lu Chuan stood up again, took a deep breath, and held the soul-breaking sword in his hand again. "This sword energy is quite powerful, but it's too wishful to want to hurt me." Wan Changdong stared at Lu Chuan, and he immediately had a bad feeling in his heart. After he swung the knife, he did not cause much substantial damage to Lu Chuan. This was almost his strongest offensive method. If this still didn't work, then to be honest, he felt a little weak in his heart. The look in his eyes when he looked at Lu Chuan became tense. He knew that, if he continued to fight, he would most likely have no chance of winning. From the simple fight at the beginning, he knew that his hard power was not as good as Lu Chuan's. Then in the collision of sword energy, it was extremely challenging to test his own spiritual energy level. Although his sword energy was stronger than Lu Chuan, it was because he used martial arts to break through Lu Chuan's sword energy. Lu Chuan, on the other hand, just swung out an ordinary sword energy, attached with flames, and it could have such a powerful effect. If he were to swung out the sword energy just now, the spiritual energy in his body would definitely not allow it. And Lu Chuan, if he could replicate the sword energy just now, he could do it. After weighing the pros and cons in his mind, Wan Changdong was more convinced that it would be difficult for him to win. He had been through hundreds of battles and had some experience. He could fully see the real level difference in strength between the two of them. Lu Chuan looked at him and asked with a smile, "What's wrong? Keep going. Are you out of energy? I'm just looking for your weakness. You're going to be defeated by me soon." "Really? Did you find it?" "Nonsense. I'm going to tell you. If I find it, get ready to die." Lu Chuan sneered. "If you really found it, do you still need to tell it? I think you just want to scare me. This kind of trick, if you use it on a martial arts newcomer, it may work, but for me, you'd better save it." Seeing that his little trick was exposed, Wan Changdong became more pessimistic. He kept taking deep breaths, trying to calm himself down. When fighting against a strong enemy, there should be no gap in mentality. Call out the person behind you. He is the main reason why I came here today. I want to know why he came here. Who is he? Is he from the Lu family? Wan Changdong looked at Lu Chuan and said, he is not from the Lu family, but you should never underestimate his background. He came here for something on you. Something? Is it the branch of the sacred tree on me? There are many people who want it, and he is not qualified to get it. Wan Changdong looked at Lu Chuan and asked, is that branch on you? Of course. That's great. Since you have it, today is a day when this treasure changes hands, he said confidently. Lu Chuan looked at him and laughed. Don't say anything to boost your courage. If you want to fight, go ahead. If you don't dare to fight, then hand the person over to me quickly, and I will give you a decent death. Dream on. Wan Changdong clenched the long knife in his hand again, and walked towards Lu Chuan quickly. Today, I will let you know how powerful I am. At this moment, he took out some bottled medicine from his arms. Then, he opened the bottle cap, and then a black mist slipped out, entered his mouth, and entered his body. Then, he made a comfortable sound and let out a long sigh. Ah. Seeing this, Lu Chuan suddenly felt weird. What did you drink? Lu Chuan asked. You don't need to know, you just need to know. Before he finished speaking, he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his chest, so he quickly raised his hands and covered his chest. Then, he half crouched on the ground, his face distorted, and cold sweat kept pouring down. Seeing this, Lu Chuan immediately realized something. You didn't take something that overloaded your body? This kind of thing can temporarily improve your strength, but the damage it brings to the body is really unimaginable. You'd better stop in time, otherwise, you will die in pain. Stop talking nonsense, I think you are just afraid. Wan Changdong shouted. At this time, Lu Chuan saw that behind him, the blue color of the martial saint war spirit was mixed with wisps of black fluid. Gradually, the martial saint fighting spirit on Wan Changdong's body turned dark blue, and black stripes crisscrossed across the fighting spirit. Chapter 813, City Lord's Defeat. After Wan Changdong drank the unknown substance, he experienced a period of pain, and stood up again. After he stood up, veins popped out on his forehead, and muscles all over his body bulged almost a circle. It was obvious that this guy had taken something that could overdraw his body's potential. This thing was extremely harmful to the body, but he still used it. I'm afraid this thing is not yours, right? Otherwise, you would have attacked me directly last time you had the chance. Wan Changdong's eyes turned blood red, staring at Lu Chuan, and shouted, so what? You are dead this time. No matter what, I will kill you. Haha, that guy helped you, but he didn't even give you something useful. This kind of thing that overloads the body, even if you win, your body will be ruined. It seems that the guy doesn't really want to help you. In his eyes, you are just a tool. If he really wants to help you defeat me, he will definitely give you more good treasures and let you defeat me. In the end, he gave you this. He simply treats you as a suicide soldier. Wan Changdong's heart began to waver, but he still walked towards Lu Chuan quickly. You have overdrawn your physical potential to fight me. If you still can't beat me, your fate will become very miserable. In the eyes of the man behind you, you have completely become a disposable consumable. Your only effect on him is to consume my physical strength and combat power. This is your value. Can you accept it with pleasure? Wan Changdong clenched his teeth. He never thought about what Lu Chuan said. He wanted to win too much. As long as he could kill Lu Chuan, he would be the emperor in lynching in the future, and could do whatever he wanted. But he never thought that he would be used by others, because of this greed. So what? I have already drunk the medicine. Now, I have to fight you to the death. If I win, I will have the qualifications to continue to live freely. This battle is inevitable. He rushed towards Lu Chuan. Obviously, he didn't want to continue talking nonsense, otherwise, he was afraid that Lu Chuan would really mess his mind. Haha, then let me see how strong you are now. Swish. Lu Chuan raised his sword and stepped forward to start a fierce one-on-one confrontation with Wan Changdong. The weapons of both sides kept colliding, with extremely fast speed and sufficient power. Every time the swords collided, there would be a harsh sound of metal clashing, and at the same time, dazzling sparks would be wiped out. After several rounds of fighting, beads of sweat appeared on Lu Chuan's forehead. The Wan Changdong in front of him had obviously become much more difficult. Lu Chuan tightly grasped the long sword, took a deep breath, and prepared to step forward again to continue the fight. "Mr. Lu, let me help you. If you continue to fight with him, you will consume a lot of physical strength. If another strong enemy comes, you will be in danger." Li Zunying shouted loudly on the side. At first, he could see that Lu Chuan could deal with Wan Changdong with ease. But gradually, he found that after Wan Changdong drank the unknown medicine, Lu Chuan's fight was not as easy as before. And looking at Lu Chuan's panting appearance, I'm afraid that, if he fights for a while, his physical strength will be almost consumed. Hearing this, Wan Changdong immediately became anxious. He had tried his best to fight Lu Chuan. If there was another martial saint, and the two of them joined forces, he would be beaten to death in a minute. He immediately shouted, "Lu Chuan, you said you would fight me one-on-one, you can't regret it halfway. Are you afraid of me? If you want him to help, can you be considered to have defeated me?" Lu Chuan just smiled faintly at his words. "It doesn't seem fair for you to overdraw your life to fight me, so why should I fight you fairly?" Lu Chuan looked back at Li Zunying and said, "Go ahead, kill this guy with me." Wan Changdong's eyes widened when he heard this, and he shouted in horror, "You bastard, you don't have martial ethics, and you call this a one-on-one fight? Swish! Exclamation mark. The next moment, Li Zunying came behind him. He swung out two daggers in succession, slashing Li Zunying's back several times. Puff! Exclamation mark. Blood gushed out instantly, staining the clothes on his back. Wan Changdong turned around and grasped the hilt of the knife tightly, sweeping it out. However, the next moment, Li Zunying disappeared from the spot, avoiding Wan Changdong's attack. Before he could retract the long knife, Lu Chuan's attack came again. Seeing this, Wan Changdong could only turn around and block it. But in this gap, Li Zunying appeared again, slashing Wan Changdong with a dagger several times in a row, cutting Wan Changdong's body into blood. Wan Changdong let out a shrill scream and quickly retreated a few steps, pulling away from Lu Chuan. "Asshole, you have no martial ethics. Your victory is not glorious." Lu Chuan clenched his sword and approached him step by step. "If you win, will it be glorious? The winner is the king. As long as I win, that's enough. As long as you die, outsiders will not care how you die. They will only know that you died in my hands. Understand?" Wan Changdong propped the blade on the ground, half bent over and gasped. He was exhausted and bleeding heavily, making him weak and almost completely losing his fighting ability. He had lost the ability to continue fighting. If he continued to fight, he would only bleed to death. He looked at Lu Chuan and sighed helplessly. I admit defeat. I'm not your opponent. Now, call out the people behind you and release Dong Fangcheng to me. Otherwise, I will slaughter all your city guards." Wan Changdong was shocked and shouted quickly, "You can kill me, but you can't kill my brothers. Don't talk nonsense to me. Now you know to protect your subordinates. What about the time when you let them die?" Wan Changdong sighed helplessly. "I don't know where Dong Fangcheng is imprisoned, but he was indeed brought here. Brother Lu, look over there. There is a figure running over." Lu Chuan turned his head and saw a figure staggering forward. Lu Chuan carefully identified that the figure was Dong Fangcheng. However, he was bleeding all over and his steps were chaotic. Obviously, he had just suffered a lot of torture. Lu Chuan's anger suddenly rose in his heart. He held the hilt of the sword tightly, and his heart was full of murderous intent. "No matter who it is, I will make him live a life worse than death. He dares to provoke me like this, dares to bully Dong Fangcheng like this. He simply doesn't take me seriously." Li Zunying clenched the dagger in his hand. "Brother, let's go together. No matter what, we must end the battle as soon as possible." Lu Chuan nodded slightly. "Let's go together. No matter what this guy is, today, I must make him die here." Chapter 814 Men in Black. In the distance, Dong Fangcheng can be seen stumbling forward, his body tilted left and right, as if he would fall at any time. His face was swollen, and his eyes were squeezed into a slit by the swelling, and he could barely see Lu Chuan's figure. After seeing Lu Chuan, he breathed a sigh of relief, and ran towards Lu Chuan desperately. He knew that Lu Chuan was the only one in the entire Lin city who could save him. Seeing this, Lu Chuan's heart was suddenly filled with anger. Suddenly, a black figure appeared in the distance, and he slowly walked towards Lu Chuan. "Mr. Lu, I'm here to see you. Did you bring the branch of the sacred tree with you?" he asked with a smile, walking forward calmly and slowly walking towards Lu Chuan. Lu Chuan stared at his figure and said, "The branch of the sacred tree is on my body. If you want it, come and get it. I'm afraid you don't have the ability to do it." Okay, just take it with you. I don't want to kill you and then spend time searching for the branch of the sacred tree. In this case, then prepare to die. His tone was flat, as if he had sentenced Lu Chuan to death. When he walked towards Lu Chuan, he didn't take Lu Chuan seriously at all, and his steps were extremely confident. Lu Chuan also walked towards him. Li Zuniying hurried forward, helped Dan Fangcheng to the side, took him to sit down, and gave him a hemostatic pill. "Brother, let's join forces to deal with this guy, solve the trouble here, as soon as possible, and then go back quickly. Dan Fangcheng's injuries are somewhat serious, and he needs treatment." Lu Chuan looked back at Li Zuniying and said, "Take him to have a good rest, and leave the rest to me. You should be able to deal with this guy alone, right? I think this guy is very confident. I'm afraid he has extraordinary strength." Lu Chuan shrugged disapprovingly. "I'll fight with him first. If the situation is not right, I'll call you, and then you can take action." Li Zuniying nodded helplessly, took out some white cloth from his arms, and began to bandage the wounds on Dan Fangcheng's body. Lu Chuan walked towards the other party and asked calmly, "Tell me your name. Let me know who you are. I don't want to kill an unknown person." "My name is Duan Qian Luo. You don't know me, but I have heard of your name a long time ago." "Duan Qian Luo. I really don't know you, but it doesn't prevent me from swinging my sword to kill you." Lu Chuan tightly grasped the soul-breaking sword and walked slowly towards Duan Qian Luo. Both sides seemed to be calm as water, but in fact, they were already uncontrollable and turbulent. Once the fight started, it would be a collision of angry waves. "Today, let me see how good your swordsmanship is, and what is the quality of this fairy weapon in your hand." Swish. Duan Qian Luo took the initiative and rushed towards Lu Chuan. He was very fast, like a black shadow flying across the ground at a high speed, and his figure turned into a black afterimage. Almost in an instant, he rushed to Lu Chuan, swung the long sword in his hand, and chopped down at Lu Chuan. His swordsmanship is very special. When the first move came, Lu Chuan could feel that this guy had prepared the second and third moves. Once hit by the combo, he would be in danger. Lu Chuan raised the soul-breaking sword to block it back. Clang, sparks flew, the two swords rang, and Lu Chuan felt his right arm trembling slightly. Duan Qian Luo retracted his long sword and then attacked Lu Chuan with the second slash. His speed was extremely fast, leaving Lu Chuan no chance to counterattack or escape. If he didn't continue to block, he would be in danger. Lu Chuan quickly raised his hand to block it back. Clang, he didn't hesitate and slashed at Lu Chuan again, swinging his long sword continuously from all angles and weaknesses, slashing at Lu Chuan continuously, approaching step by step, forcing Lu Chuan to retreat step by step. Lu Chuan's forehead was covered with cold sweat. The swordsmanship of the guy in front of him was quite amazing. When he swung the long sword, it was like a series of phantoms, dazzling the people who watched. Lu Chuan kept blocking back and defending, and it was difficult for him to have an opportunity to attack. At this moment, Lu Chuan realized that his swordsmanship level was quite low. First of all, he had not practiced swordsmanship fully. What he practiced was the ancient swordsmanship book given by Taoist Xiaoyao. Apart from the rest, Lu Chuan never practiced any additional swordsmanship skills. The rest was the swordsmanship that Lu Chuan practiced in actual combat. Although this practice process was all actual combat, it had a strong improvement effect. But it was not a targeted improvement, so Lu Chuan's swordsmanship level was still in an ups and downs. Therefore, when Lu Chuan fought with Duan Qian Luo, it was easy to fall into a passive situation, and it was difficult to have a chance to fight back. After realizing this, Lu Chuan made up his mind that he must find an opportunity to strengthen his swordsmanship. Otherwise, it would be a pity to have an immortal sword, but not be able to exert all his strength. And Duan Qian Luo seemed to have seen Lu Chuan's lack of swordsmanship, and couldn't help laughing. If your swordsmanship is any worse, it would be the level of an amateur. You are relying on your own strength to carry on. You are very strong, but that's all. I have countless ways to kill you. Lu Chuan sneered. I should be the one saying this. Lu Chuan was merciless and started to counterattack directly, stabbing Duan Qianluo's chest with a sword. At this moment, Duan Qianluo just made a move and the long sword in his hand fell towards Lu Chuan. Duan Qianluo shouted angrily, "Are you a lunatic? Don't you see that my attack is about to work?" It stands to reason that Duan Qianluo's sword is faster in this round of swordsmanship. If Lu Chuan does not choose to block at this time, but chooses to counterattack, then there is no doubt that Lu Chuan will be injured, and Duan Qianluo may be injured. In this case, any normal person will choose to block instead of counterattacking, which will hurt both sides. What's more, both sides will be hurt, or the best solution. If Duan Qianluo is lucky enough to dodge in advance, then only Lu Chuan will be injured. Swish! Exclamation mark. Duan Qianluo's sword fell and slashed across Lu Chuan's chest. With a sound of puff, blood spurted out. And then, Lu Chuan's sword also hit Duan Qianluo's chest accurately. Blood flowed out along the sword. Duan Qianluo felt pain, gritted his teeth and retreated, and quickly pulled away. He stared at Lu Chuan's figure, and was suddenly shocked. "You bastard, do you usually fight like this? Are you a lunatic?" He took out a small ceramic bottle from his arms, opened it, and quickly poured it into his mouth. Then, the bleeding from the small hole in his shoulder stopped. Lu Chuan had a big cut on his chest. Logically, the amount of bleeding should be much more fierce than Duan Qianluo. However, Lu Chuan mobilized the Nine Heavens mysterious fire in his body, and the wound on his chest healed almost instantly. Chapter 815, Siege of the Clone. Lu Chuan mobilized the Nine Heavens mysterious fire in his body, and gathered the flames at his chest. Gradually, the wound healed rapidly at a speed visible to the naked eye. The bleeding stopped, the wound healed and scabbed, and Lu Chuan stood there, as if nothing had happened. Lu Chuan looked at Duan Qianluo, smiled faintly, and asked, "Continue? You bastard, what did you use?" He looked at Lu Chuan in disbelief. He had finally created such a big wound, but he healed it instantly. This is simply too much. He looked at Lu Chuan in disbelief. Such a healing ability was something he had never seen before. He had dealt with many powerful enemies, but this was the first time he had seen such a terrible healing ability. He stared at Lu Chuan, and continued to ask, "What on earth did you do? Why have the wounds on your body healed? This is impossible. Absolutely impossible." He was shocked and looked at Lu Chuan in disbelief. The scene in front of him really shocked him. Lu Chuan said calmly, "Just because you haven't seen it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Now, let's continue fighting." Lu Chuan walked towards Duan Qianluo calmly, with a natural momentum, as if nothing had happened. Duan Qianluo was still standing there, still in a state of confusion. He was thinking seriously. What method was used to achieve such a rapid recovery speed? This speed was really unimaginable for him. Even if he drank the best healing medicine on his body, it would be impossible for him to recover in such a short moment. You must have used some evil magic. I think you can only use it once. This kind of evil magic has a great load on the body. I don't believe that you can use it a second, third, or fourth time," he said very confidently, and then rushed towards Lu Chuan again. This time, his speed was faster and his offensive momentum was more fierce. His anger surged in his heart. He had defeated Lu Chuan at the beginning, but he didn't expect that a wave of fighting would put him at a disadvantage. "I can't tolerate myself being at a disadvantage. I must injure you severely now." He looked at Lu Chuan with gritted teeth, and swung the long sword in his hand towards Lu Chuan. Lu Chuan was naturally not afraid. He picked up the soul-breaking sword, and went up to meet him, and fell into another round of fighting with him. The two kept fighting, with swords flashing and sparks flying. Li Zuniying and An Fangcheng next to them were watching intently, fearing that Lu Chuan would fall into a disadvantage. Swish. Suddenly, Duan Qianhao retreated a few steps, and he began to hold the sword with both hands. On the sword body, a sword energy began to condense. "Today, I will let you see my sword cultivation. Die." Swish. The next moment, a sharp sword energy attacked Lu Chuan fiercely. Seeing this, Lu Chuan did not hesitate, and prepared to fight back. He gathered the sun god fire in his left hand in his palm as before. Then, he pressed the god fire on the sword body. The sword body was instantly covered by flames, and became a flaming long sword. Lu Chuan suddenly swung out, and a sword with blazing fire attacked Duan Kai and Luo. Boom. The swords of both sides collided with each other, exploding with dazzling sparks. Countless flames scattered around. Duan Kai and Luo saw this and quickly dodged, fearing that he would be entangled by the flames. Boom. Suddenly, a flame splashed on the corner of Duan Kai and Luo's clothes. In an instant, Duan Kai and Luo felt the high temperature of the flame, and he was immediately panicked. He had never seen such a terrifying and high temperature flame. Almost instantly, the flame spread all over his body like a plague, and began to burn at him. Duan Kai and Luo didn't have time to think about it, and hurriedly took off the black robe outside, and threw it aside. After revealing the black suit underneath, he was still in shock, and he gripped the hilt of the sword again, and confronted Lu Chuan. "Your flame is extraordinary, how did you make it?" He stared at Lu Chuan with his eyes secretly, and felt that Lu Chuan was not simple. Lu Chuan shrugged disapprovingly. "This is the sun god fire. The temperature is extremely terrible. You took off your clothes just now, otherwise, you would be dead." "The sun god fire? Impossible. That is the legendary divine fire. How could it appear in Kunlun domain? How could it appear on you?" He looked at Lu Chuan in disbelief. Lu Chuan smiled helplessly. "Forget it if you don't believe it. How about this? I will set fire to you again. You come and feel it for yourself, whether this is the sun god fire or not. Dream, I will not let you get close to me today." Then, Duan Kai and Luo raised his right hand, and a black mist emerged from his palm. The black mist was like an octopus spraying ink, and instantly shot out a ball of thick fog, and then the thick fog enveloped his whole body. Then, the black mist faded, and his whole person turned into a black shadow. His cheeks became dark and deep, leaving only a pair of eyes emitting a dark red light. Then, his body dispersed into 3 clones. The clones had the same state, the same black body, the same clothes and weapons. When these people mixed together, Lu Chuan couldn't tell which one was the real body. Their cheeks were dark, and it was impossible to identify the details. Swish. At once, 4 figures all rushed towards Lu Chuan. Swish! Exclamation mark. The 4 black shadows were as fast as flying, quickly passing over the ground, and attacking Lu Chuan. Seeing this, Lu Chuan directly covered the sword body with the sun god fire again, preparing to use the flame sword energy again. If the 4 enemy figures in front of him launched a siege on him at the same time, he would definitely not be able to resist for a while. Therefore, he had to use the flame sword energy to deal with it, otherwise, he would easily fall into a passive and dangerous situation. If he was besieged, it would be difficult for him to release the flame sword energy again. Swish! Exclamation mark. Lu Chuan swung the soul-breaking sword, and a flame sword energy emitted a bright and hot tail fire, attacking the 4 people in front of him. But then, these 4 people came forward and all swung a sword energy, directly shattering the flame sword energy released by Lu Chuan. Sparks flew everywhere, and 4 figures shuttled through the rain of fire, attacking Lu Chuan without getting hurt. Seeing this, Lu Chuan could only choose to retreat first, fighting while retreating, to ensure that he would not be trapped in the danger of being besieged. While retreating and fighting all the way, Lu Chuan never stopped waving the soul-breaking sword in his hand. His physical strength was rapidly declining, and the strength of his sword grip also began to gradually decline. Seeing this, Li Zunying stood up, and said to Dan Fangcheng, "You rest here first, I'm going to help Lu Chuan. Go quickly, I see he is in trouble. If you can help him, that would be the best. I have almost recovered, don't worry about me." Li Zunying nodded slightly, and then rushed towards Duan Kai and Luo. Chapter 816 End of Life. Li Zunying rushed over, directly stopped a figure, and started a fierce battle. With one less person among the 4, the 3 people chasing Lu Chuan still brought a lot of pressure to Lu Chuan. Lu Chuan took several steps back, and with a glance, he saw that Li Zunying had beaten one of the clones all over his body, almost crippled. Duan Kai and Luo was divided into 4 clones. If they were to besiege one person, it would be really powerful and very difficult. But if the fighting power was dispersed, the effect would be greatly reduced. One clone was killed, and Li Zunying hurriedly chased up, and caught up with Lu Chuan about 100 meters away. "Brother, I'm here to help you." The 3 clones looked back at Li Zunying, and immediately shouted angrily, "Arsehole." It was a one-on-one fight. Lu Chuan looked at him and said disdainfully, I agreed with Wan Changdang that it was a one-on-one fight. When did I tell you that it was a one-on-one fight? Stop talking nonsense, you're dead today. Lu Chuan stepped forward with a sword and began to exert pressure. Lu Chuan and Li Zunying joined forces, 2 against 3, and the situation was reversed in an instant. Lu Chuan and Li Zunying attacked together, and Duan Qianluo retreated again and again. He was miserable, and didn't even have time to curse. He just focused on taking the attack of Lu Chuan and Li Zunying. 2 strong men with the strength of the martial saint realm are naturally stronger than one martial saint realm. What's more, Duan Qianluo dispersed his strength, and part of it was taken down by Li Zunying alone. Now, he basically had no chance to win. Swish. The 3 clones became one, and turned into the appearance of Duan Qianluo's original body. He reappeared and retreated more than 10 meters away, gasping for breath, and his condition was very bad. In the distance, Wan Changdang, who was seriously injured, barely had a breath. After seeing such a scene, he suddenly felt cold in his heart. If Duan Qianluo was not an opponent, then they would be completely defeated. Now, not only could he not keep his position as the city lord, but he even lost his life. This result was hard for him to accept. But he had no choice. This was the path he had chosen, and he could only accept it silently. Under the joint attack of Lu Chuan and Li Zunying, Duan Qianluo gradually retreated, and gradually, he lost the ability to fight. After retreating for a distance, he knelt on one leg on the ground, gasping for breath, and had completely lost the desire to fight. He looked up at Lu Chuan and quickly clasped his hands together. I admit defeat. I admit defeat. Please spare my life. I know I was wrong. He began to beg for mercy and completely lost the will to fight. Lu Chuan came in front of him, looked down into his eyes, and said, are you giving up now? Weren't you still very good at fighting just now? That was just now. I realize now that I'm no match for you. It was a mistake for my superiors to send me here. They should have sent someone stronger. Maybe they underestimated your growth rate. Lu Chuan shook his head disapprovingly and said, my growth rate is average, but you are too lazy. You actually sent you alone to deal with me. You really don't take me seriously. Lu Chuan stepped forward, grabbed Duan Qianluo's neck, and asked, tell me, who are you? Who sent you? I'm from Wanhuman. I received an order from the leader, and was ordered to come here to deal with you. Lu Chuan nodded slightly, and continued to ask, Wanhuman, why do you want to deal with me? In other words, who asked you to deal with me? I don't know. Only the leader knows whose order it was. The leader and I are just following orders. As for the branches of the sacred tree, we definitely can't get them. If I can take the branches of the sacred tree back, I definitely won't be able to keep them for myself. Lu Chuan nodded slightly. It seems that there are many people who want this thing. Forgive me, I will go back and tell the headmaster that I will not attack you anymore. You take the branch of the sacred tree and practice well, and then kill those who want to deal with you. I'm just a small character who follows orders. How can I forgive you? You want to kill me, so I will definitely not let you go. If you report my situation, after you go back, won't I suffer again? In this case, I definitely can't let you go. This lynching is the end of your life. Hearing this, Duan Qianluo was stunned on the spot, and the whole person was dumbfounded. I have already admitted defeat. Why don't you let me go? Don't you know that you should leave a way out for us to meet in the future? I'm not a vagrant. I'm a well-off person. If you kill me, the one woman behind me will never let you go. He continued to shout, and it was obvious that the one woman behind him gave him great confidence. Lu Chuan looked at him and sneered. Do you think I'm afraid of your one woman? If they want to deal with me, then come on. Even if I'll let you go, can I stop them from doing it? Duan Qianluo's face suddenly darkened, and he felt extremely uncomfortable. He looked at Lu Chuan and sighed endlessly. Li Zunying, you can deal with this guy, and search him by the way. Find anything he has. Yes, leave it to me. Li Zunying walked forward, dragged Duan Qianluo's hands, and pulled him towards a hidden corner. Then, Lu Chuan walked towards Wan Changdang. Wan Changdang slumped on the ground, raised his head, and looked at Lu Chuan in despair. Mr. Lu, I know I was wrong. My ambition was too big, and I did things I shouldn't have done. Can you give me a chance to continue to manage this lynching? I will be loyal to you. Please spare me. If I die, this lynching will fall into a period of turmoil and the whole lynching will be in chaos. Lu Chuan said disapprovingly, no need. I will kill you and support another one, right? The one I support may not be loyal. I'm absolutely loyal to you now. As long as you give me a way to live, a glimmer of hope. He begged bitterly, but Lu Chuan was determined to kill and didn't intend to let this guy go. He didn't do it before, which had already given him a chance. However, he didn't cherish it, so it was not Lu Chuan's fault. Swish. Lu Chuan drew out the soul-breaking sword and swung it towards Wan Changdong. Then, the head rolled down and blood spurted out. With a plop, Wan Changdong's body fell to the ground and he completely lost his life. Lu Chuan turned and left. In this desolate square, a cold wind blew. Lu Chuan walked towards Dong Fangcheng. Are your injuries better? Much better. I just drank the healing medicine. Fortunately, you defeated your opponent, otherwise we would be in danger. Lu Chuan smiled. Are you still worried about this? There is no need. I'd better use the Nine Heavens mysterious fire to heal your injuries. This is faster. Chapter 817 Perfect Ending. Lu Chuan squatted in front of Dong Fangcheng, raised his right hand, and gathered the Nine Heavens mysterious fire in his palm. Then, he moved his palm closer, and the flames poured into Dong Fangcheng's body. Dong Fangcheng suddenly felt a burning heat in his body, and this warm current kept rushing through his body. Soon, he felt that his body was no longer in pain. He looked down, and saw that the wounds on his body were healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. He quickly looked up at Lu Chuan, and showed a very surprised smile. Mr. Lu, this flame is so magical that it can quickly heal my injuries just by entering my body. Lu Chuan smiled faintly. This flame can not only heal people's injuries, but also reversely, hitting the wounds exponentially, and the damage caused is also quite exaggerated. Hearing this, Dong Fangcheng couldn't help swallowing his saliva. Such an exaggerated healing ability, if it had the opposite destructive effect, I'm afraid it would be even more despairing. You didn't seem to use this trick when you dealt with Duan Kai and Luo. If you had used the Nine Heavens mysterious fire, that guy would have died even more miserably. Lu Chuan just smiled faintly and said disapprovingly, I have two great divine fires on my body. I can kill the enemy with just one of them. There is no need to use both together. Lu Chuan grabbed his arm and pulled him up from the ground. After standing up, Dong Fangcheng let out a long breath and felt extremely refreshed. This feeling is simply wonderful. I have never felt this way before. I feel like my whole body is refreshed after recovering from a serious injury. Let's go. Leave here. We should go back. At this time, Li Zunian came over. We can go back. Everything here has been dealt with. Lu Chuan glanced around and found that the bodies of Duan Kai and Luo and Wan Changdong had been dealt with. Even the bloodstains left over from the fight were cleaned up. Lu Chuan looked at Li Zunian and asked, did you find anything on Duan Kai and Luo? Yes, I found this on him. He took out a token with the word Wanhu written on it. This is the token he used when he was in Wanhuman. Let me see it. Lu Chuan took the token and looked at it carefully. He turned it over and saw two more words on the back, which were the word elder. This guy is actually an elder of Wanhuman. It seems that he is in a high position in Wanhuman and has an extraordinary status. If that's the case, since you killed the people from Wanhuman, they must be targeting you. Dong Fangcheng walked over, looked at the token, and then looked at Lu Chuan and said. Lu Chuan sighed helplessly, there's nothing I can do. I have too many rare treasures on me, so it's easy for people to target me. I think this sword on me will be targeted sooner or later. Dong Fangcheng looked at the soul-breaking sword behind Lu Chuan and said, that can't be possible. Your scabbard is so plain. From the outside, it looks like an ordinary long sword. Lu Chuan shook his head slightly. Do you know about the Legion sect? They already know about this sword. If they are greedy, I'm afraid I will provoke another wave of enemies. Li Zunian continued to take things out of a bag. I also found these on Duan Kai and Luo. This is a top-grade Yuan pill, used to absorb spiritual energy and help break through the realm. This thing is very rare. Brother, please accept it. Li Zunian handed the pill to Lu Chuan. Then he continued to explore, and then took out some jewelry, as well as some auxiliary pills such as healing medicine. This guy doesn't have many good things on him. He probably came here to do some work, so he doesn't have much on him. Li Zunying put the things into the bag, and handed it back to Lu Chuan. Lu Chuan picked up the bag, and put it on his back. No matter what's inside, let's go back first. Oh, brother, there's also his sword. Li Zunying took the long sword from behind, and handed it to Lu Chuan. Lu Chuan picked up the sword, and held it horizontally in front of him to examine it carefully. The sword body was as black as ink, and a row of emeralds were inlaid in the hilt. The whole sword looked well forged, the blade was extremely sharp, and there was an undercurrent in it. If it was used to release sword energy, it would be twice the result with half the effort. Lu Chuan looked at it, and couldn't help but sigh. This sword looks really good, at least it is of the spiritual level. As for what grade of spiritual weapon it is, it's hard to say. Lu Chuan looked up at Dong Fangcheng and asked, do you know this sword? No, there are many swords with black blades, but I don't know this one. After all, I'm not a swordsmith, and I haven't been interested in swords since I was a child. Why not? There are some famous swordsmiths in the city. You go to them to identify it, and you will naturally know the detailed information of this sword. Lu Chuan nodded slightly. Let's go back first. We shouldn't stay here any longer. Lu Chuan took the lead, and the three of them walked out of the inner city together, and left the city lord's mansion. When they came to the scope of Lincheng, Lu Chuan looked at the prosperous and lively streets. These people didn't know that just now, the city lord of Lincheng was about to change. Once the lord of Lincheng dies, Lincheng will probably enter a period of turmoil. We must find a way to stabilize Lincheng. Dong Fangcheng sighed. Lu Chuan pondered for a moment and asked, in this case, we should also consider supporting someone to take the stage and become the lord of Lincheng. Dong Fangcheng turned his head to look at Lu Chuan and asked hurriedly, Mr. Lu, who do you plan to support as the lord of the city? The three of us are definitely not good enough. If we let Guziao and Guziao come, they are not experienced enough and can't control the people in the lord's mansion. Lu Chuan shook his head helplessly. It's really hard to find a trustworthy person at the moment. I'll go back and think about it. The three of them got on their horses together, walked on the street, and started their return journey. When they reached the fork in the road, Lu Chuan waved to Dong Fangcheng to say goodbye, and the two went their separate ways. Lu Chuan returned to the Lu mansion, while Dong Fangcheng returned to the Dong Fang mansion. At the gate of the Lu mansion, Gu Xiaorao was waiting here. When she saw Lu Chuan, she immediately showed an excited smile. She trotted all the way towards Lu Chuan. How's the situation? Has the person been rescued? Lu Chuan nodded slightly. Of course he has been rescued. You can rest assured that I will take action. Great, then, what about the city lord? He won't let you back easily, right? She opened her beautiful eyes wide with curiosity and looked at Lu Chuan. Lu Chuan shrugged disapprovingly. He is dead, including the helper who helped him behind the scenes. Ah, the city lord is dead. Then Lincheng is now in a state without the jurisdiction of the city lord. I will consider supporting a new city lord to take office. Chapter 818, City Lord Vacancy. Gu Xiaorao followed Lu Chuan into the mansion, still looking worried. Lu Chuan, if the city lord dies, Lincheng will fall into chaos. At that time, all the resources managed in the city lord's mansion will be divided up by various forces. Once there is no one who can control the situation, the people below will naturally not accept it. At that time, the chaos will continue to intensify, she said worriedly. Lu Chuan did not take it seriously. This is a small matter. There should be some powerful people in the city guards in the city lord's mansion. I will go to meet them when I have time. During this period of time, people from other forces will definitely come to recommend themselves. It will be lively in the future. Gu Xiaorao said helplessly. Lu Chuan asked, why did they come to us to recommend themselves? Of course, they want to win your support. You are the most powerful person in Lincheng now. If any of them wants to be the city lord, they must win your support. Otherwise, even if they can take the seat, they will not be able to sit firmly. Lu Chuan nodded slightly. I understand. If someone comes to visit, we will talk about it then. Lu Chuan returned to the room and started to eat dinner. After dinner, Lu Chuan convened a meeting in the mansion. In the meeting hall, all the personnel at all levels of the Lu mansion were present. They sat into rows and looked at Lu Chuan seriously. Everyone is here, right? Then I won't waste any more words. Lu Chuan took a quick look and continued. The situation is this. The city lord Wan Changdong is dead. What? Dead? How could that happen? How could a healthy person just die? Didn't he just break through to the Martial Saint realm some time ago? Then who else in Lin City can kill him? Then, soon, this group of people realized something. Lu Chuan smiled faintly. Yes, I killed him. In order to deal with me, he kidnapped Dong Fangcheng from the Dongfang family. This is a big deal. Everyone knows that Dong Fangcheng's identity is not ordinary. If he dies here, it will have a great impact. So, I went to kill the city lord, including the mastermind behind him. Lu Chuan continued. Now that the city lord is dead, Lin Cheng will enter a period of time without official control. Some bad situations may happen. For example, the security in the city will deteriorate, the maintenance of the city walls will deteriorate, and all kinds of sinister human nature will happen. During this period of time, everyone should do their own thing and don't get involved. I will find a suitable candidate for the city lord during this period of time and support him. As soon as these words came out, there was a lot of discussion off the court. Do we want to support a new city lord? Since we, the Lu Mansion, support him, then the new city lord must be close to the Lu Mansion. That's right, since we want to support a new city lord and we have the ability to do so, then we must support someone who has a good relationship with our Lu Mansion. That's great. This is a good opportunity for our Lu Mansion. If someone from our Lu Mansion takes over Lin City, then we will be the only one in Lin City in the future. Lu Chuan turned his head to look at Gu Xiaorao. If you support him, it will become a lot easier for you to run the Lu Mansion in Lin City. During this period of time, do you think you can manage the Lu Mansion? Lu Chuan asked. Gu Xiaorao nodded repeatedly. Of course, when I was in the secular world, I saw many social elites who managed more complex large companies, which was much more difficult than this small Lu Mansion. I believe that I can manage it, but I may lack some strength, which makes my momentum not so strong. Lu Chuan nodded slightly. Take this, and break through your own realm, as soon as possible. Don't delay your own cultivation progress. Gu Xiaorao took a small bottle from Lu Chuan's hand, looked closely, and saw the three big words Shia Niu and Dan. This pill is very helpful for cultivation. Thank you so much. Lu Chuan put his arm around her shoulders and said softly, what are you thanking me for? We are all family. Gu Xiaorao smiled and put the pill into her pocket. Lu Chuan looked at everyone and continued, there is nothing else to say. Starting tomorrow, continue to be busy with your own things. Then, Lu Chuan dismissed everyone. Lu Chuan took Gu Xiaorao back to the main house. Gu Xiaosang was in the main hall, reading an ancient book with great interest. Sister, you're back. Gu Xiaosang stood up and walked towards Gu Xiaorao. I heard that your good friend Dong Fangcheng was captured. How is the situation? Gu Xiaosang looked at Lu Chuan curiously. Are you doubting my ability? Of course he was rescued. Really? Then, what about the city lord? He's dead. Gu Xiaosang nodded slightly. The city lord is dead. Then Lin Cheng is now in a state of no one managing it? This is not good. Lu Chuan looked at her and asked, what do you think? Why not? Let me be the city lord. I also want to experience the feeling of being in a high position. What do you think? She looked at Lu Chuan excitedly. Lu Chuan shook his head decisively. Are you crazy? You want to be the city lord? Do you think Lin Cheng is a large kindergarten? Can you manage it? Do you think my level is only enough to manage a kindergarten? You underestimate me too much. Gu Xiaorao glanced at her and said, Xiaosang, stop messing around. You can't be the city lord. The city guards are all big and strong men. You can't suppress them. I just said it casually, but someone like me who has nothing to do with the position of city lord wants to be the city lord. Then other people. I'm afraid this desire is even stronger. Just wait. A lot of people will come to bother you soon. Lu Chuan shrugged helplessly. It doesn't matter. You don't have to worry about it. Just then, there was a knock on the door. Is Mr. Lu Chuan here? Come in. Then, a man pushed the door open and walked in. He hurriedly walked towards Lu Chuan. The head of the Lin Cheng Su family came to visit and said he has something to see you about. What's the matter? I've never heard of his name. Forget it, let him come tomorrow. I'm tired today and it's time to rest. Well, I'll tell him to come tomorrow. The housekeeper turned and left. Lu Chuan shook his head helplessly. Tomorrow all the troubles will come. After he sighed, he went to wash up and rest and went to bed. The next morning, after Lu Chuan got up, he immediately heard a knock on the door. Is Mr. Lu here? It was the same voice as last night. What do you want to see me about? There are more visitors today, and they all said they want to see you. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 819, Fighting for Power. Lu Chuan pushed the door open and walked out, looking at the housekeeper and asked, how many people are here? About 7 or 8. They are all gathered at the door, arguing. Take me over there to have a look. After Lu Chuan finished speaking, he followed the housekeeper to the door of the Lu mansion. At the door, more than a dozen gorgeous carriages were parked, and at the door, there were 7 or 8 men and women in gorgeous clothes, chattering non-stop. Mr. Lu is out. Lord Lu, you are finally out. I got up early in the morning, just to come and see you, and I'm glad to see you. Lord Lu, I have something to discuss with you. I'm the patriarch of the Su family, Su Kanming. Lu Chuan looked at everyone and said, why did you all come to see me today? I don't know you at all, do I? Lord Lu, you are very observant, and should have known why we are here this time. I recently heard that the city lord Wan Changdong unfortunately passed away. Now the position of the city lord is vacant and Lin Cheng is in a state of no management. Such a throne should be given to a person with strength and ability. Lord Lu, I think I'm a very suitable candidate. Everyone looked at Lu Chuan, expecting Lu Chuan to respond. Or, let's come in and talk. Lu Chuan turned and entered the mansion. Then, Lu Chuan took the lead to the meeting hall, and the others followed closely. After Lu Chuan entered the meeting hall, he sat in the main seat, and the others took their seats one after another. Lord Lu, my name is Su Kanming. I came to visit you last night. Unfortunately, you had already gone to bed, so I came early this morning. Lu Chuan looked at the man in a dark blue robe. Su Kanming, our Lu mansion is not very familiar with your Su family, right? Su Kanming hurriedly continued, although we didn't have a close relationship before, we can slowly cultivate it. Our Su family can definitely become the vanguard of the Lu mansion. Su Kanming's face made everyone else feel disgusted, but when they spoke, they were no less disgusted. Lord Lu, I have the strength and ability to manage Lin Cheng well. Let me be the city lord. As long as I become the city lord, I will listen to the Lu mansion in everything from now on. Mr. Lu Chuan, I really dream of becoming the city lord of Lin Cheng. Please give me another chance. I will definitely manage Lin Cheng perfectly. Lu Chuan looked at everyone and finally set his sights on Su Kanming. Su Kanming, tell me, what advantages do you think you have? Su Kanming's eyes lit up when he saw that he had a chance to speak, and he quickly said, our Su family runs several martial arts halls in Lin Cheng. To be honest, at least 30% of the city guards are from me, and many of them were once my direct disciples. This alone is enough to guarantee that, if I sit on the throne of the city lord, these people below will definitely obey me. Also, our Su family ranks at least in the top 5 in comprehensive strength in Lin Cheng. If Lord Lu can help me become a city lord, then from now on, our Su family and the Lu family will be a complete alliance and the best allies. At that time, with the combination of our 2 families, plus his city lord, we will be the ruling force in the entire Lin Cheng. Lu Chuan looked down at Su Kanming and asked, how can I trust you? I can put my life in your hands. As soon as these words came out, everyone else in the audience couldn't help but gasp. He couldn't help but sigh silently in his heart. This guy is simply crazy. In order to become the city lord, he actually played so hard. At this moment, only Su Kanming knew in his heart how important this matter was to their Su family. Their Su family runs a martial arts hall, and other than that, they have no other business. They have always wanted to get involved in the business world, do some business, and make more money, so that the martial arts hall can be better maintained. But the competition in Lincheng is fierce, and no matter how hard their Su family tries, they can't squeeze into the business world. This has always been Su Kanming's trouble. But now, the opportunity has come. As long as he can become the city lord, he will have a lot of business projects that can be handed over to his Su family. Their Su family will soon enter the business world and do it well. Therefore, he really can't let go of this opportunity, which is too tempting for him. If he can succeed, not only him, but also the Su family will soar to the sky. From now on, not only will they achieve success in martial arts, but they will also be very important in the business world. He looked at Lu Chuan, lowered his head sincerely, and waited for Lu Chuan's decision. You want to hand your life over to me? How can you do that? Su Kanming continued, I have a kind of poison, which is a chronic poison. Once taken, you need to take an antidote once a year for 7 consecutive years to completely eliminate the poison. So, you plan to take this poison and then hand the antidote to me? Su Kanming nodded repeatedly. Yes, in this way, I will have to come to Lu Mansion at least once a year to seek an antidote. Lu Chuan frowned slightly and asked, but what if you have a private antidote? No, this poison is called 7-star underworld powder. When it is auctioned in the market, it will be sold together with 7 sets of antidotes. Moreover, 7-star underworld powder is extremely rare. It only appeared once in the entire Lincheng 3 years ago, and I happened to take a photo of it. You can verify what I said at will. It's all true. Lu Chuan looked at the rest of the people and asked, is what he said true? The rest of the people knew that Su Kanming was telling the truth. However, none of them were willing to admit it. Once they admitted it, they would basically have no hope of becoming the city lord. They never dreamed that they would miss such a good opportunity today because they didn't take the picture of the poison. It was such a pity. Lu Chuan turned his head to look at the housekeeper and asked, is what he said true? The housekeeper nodded repeatedly. Yes, it is true. I know this. If he drank the poison, there are only 7 antidotes, and there are no extra ones. Unless he can travel around and find the antidote, but that would be difficult. Lu Chuan nodded slightly. Is that so? That's not bad. I think you have great potential. In that case, you can be the city lord. Go back and bring the poison here, drink it in front of me, and then hand over the antidote. I will let you be the city lord immediately. If anyone refuses to obey, I will beat him until he obeys. As soon as Lu Chuan said this, the rest of the people all cried and looked like they were about to die. The others stood up with regret and left one after another. They all knew that no matter how much they said, it would be useless. The future city lord of Lincheng has been finalized by Lu Chuan, and it is the head of the Su family, Su Kanming. Chapter 820 I have something to ask for. In the meeting hall of the Lu Mansion, everyone sighed helplessly and shook their heads. Su Kanming raised his hands high, suppressed his smile, and glanced at everyone present. Everyone, when I become the city lord, I will definitely perform my duties conscientiously. Congratulations. Everyone whispered helplessly. Lu Chuan stood up, waved his arm, and said, you can disperse. You can figure out how to become the city lord. If anyone disagrees, just let him come to me. Su Kanming hurriedly bowed to thank him. With your endorsement, I can definitely become the city lord of Lincheng. In the future, Lincheng will be ruled by our Su family and Lu family. Lu Chuan smiled faintly. Don't be so blunt. Go back and figure it out. Su Kanming nodded repeatedly, then left the meeting hall. Lord Lu, I will go back and bring the 7-star underworld powder and have you take it in front of you, and I will also hand the antidote to you. Lu Chuan stood up and put the chair back in place. You go find Gu Xiaorao and let her take care of this matter. If I want to keep an eye on you, do I need to use such a lowly method as poison? Su Kanming understood immediately when he heard Gu Xiaorao's name. It's Madam Lu, right? No problem. I'll come back to find her later. In the future, this Lu Mansion. Lu Chuan nodded slightly without saying anything more. Su Kanming understood and turned to leave. The others also left in disappointment and left the Lu Mansion helplessly. Lu Chuan came to the door of the Lu Mansion and politely saw off the group of dignitaries in Lincheng. Watching the carriages leave one after another, Lu Chuan turned around and prepared to go back. Suddenly a voice stopped Lu Chuan. "Master Lu, please stay. I have something to talk to you about." Lu Chuan looked back and found that the person who appeared in front of him was Danfang Changxi of Danfang Mansion, the master of Danfang Mansion in Lincheng. He walked quickly to Lu Chuan with a flattering smile. "Mr. Lu, I haven't seen you for a long time. I miss you very much." Lu Chuan looked at him. This old guy was different from his usual self today. He was so attentive and flattering to him. The word flattering was almost written on his face. Obviously, this guy was very wrong. Lu Chuan immediately thought of the word city lord. "Danfang Changxi, what do you want to talk to me about?" Danfang Changxi smiled awkwardly, picked up the gift in his hand, and said with a smile, "You rescued our Danfang family's young master intact. I came here this time to thank you." Lu Chuan smiled lightly and continued to ask, "Then what?" "Then, there is nothing else. Why don't we go in and talk?" Danfang Changxi said with a smile. Lu Chuan turned and entered the mansion, and Danfang Changxi quickly followed him. "Lord Lu, I came here this time to mention something. Please don't bother me. I heard that the city lord of Lincheng, Wan Changdang, died, and he died in your hands. This matter spread very quickly, and now almost everyone in the city knows about it. Everyone knows that you, Mr. Lu, are a man who has the ability to kill the city lord. If you become the city lord, no one below will dare to say a word, and they will all support you with both hands." Lu Chuan looked back at him and shook his head slightly. "I don't plan to be the city lord." Danfang Changxi smiled and coughed twice. "Really? I know you have lofty ambitions and you definitely don't care about the position of the city lord of a small city. In this case, sooner or later someone will become the city lord of Lincheng. Otherwise, Lincheng will be in chaos, a big chaos. None of us wants to see this kind of thing. And the new city lord must have strength and status. Otherwise, although he sits in the position of city lord, he will face great resistance in the process of exercising power. So I think it is very appropriate for me to be the new city lord." Lu Chuan looked at him and asked with a smile, "Do you think you are suitable for this position?" "Of course." "Do you think I'm qualified for it?" "Do I think it will be useful?" "Of course it will be useful. Without your support, I can't hold this position firmly, and it is even possible that I can't hold this position at all." Lu Chuan nodded slightly. "You really can't hold it, because I already have a candidate." After these words came out, Danfang Changxi froze in place, his whole body stiff for a moment. "What? Already have a candidate? Have you decided who will be the city lord? This kind of thing can't be rushed. It's not good to make a decision so hastily. Don't you plan to think it over again?" He hurriedly stepped forward and looked at Lu Chuan nervously. Lu Chuan nodded and said naturally, "What else do you need to think twice about? The person I want to choose is very suitable." "Who is it?" "Su Kanming." Danfang Changxi frowned and asked in confusion, "Why choose him? You don't even know him." "So what if I don't know him? He is loyal to the Lu family and is willing to listen to me. That's enough. You no longer have this opportunity. The mayor of Lincheng has been determined to be Su Kanming. This is a foregone conclusion. Anyone who is dissatisfied is against me." "Lu Chuan, do you understand?" Danfang Changxi nodded helplessly, took 2 steps back, and prepared to turn around and leave. "Okay, since the mayor is from the Su family, there is nothing to say. Lu Chuan, Danfang Cheng has been with you all the way, and helped you a lot. Why can't you do me a favor this time?" He turned around and looked at Lu Chuan in confusion. "I won't stay in Lincheng for long. If I leave, the Lu mansion will be in danger without a strong man to look after it. I do this to leave a way out for the Lu mansion. I can look after the Lu mansion." Danfang Changxi said. "Forget it. I'm afraid that by then, the Lu mansion will have to change its surname. It's fine like this." Danfang Changxi sighed, turned around and left helplessly. Lu Chuan rubbed his forehead. So many people came to compete for the position of the city lord in this day. This is too popular. Lu Chuan returned to the mansion and called Li Zunying to go out. He took a black long sword from Duan Qian Luo, but so far, he didn't know the specific information of this long sword. It is necessary to find a sword making master to identify it carefully. In-depth understanding of the quality of this sword. After the identification, this sword can be handed over to Guzayadora or Guzayada-sang, and let them equip the sword, and their strength will definitely be improved. For Lu Chuan, there was no need for him to take this sword. Although this sword looked of high quality, it was definitely not as good as his soul-breaking sword. Therefore, there was no need for him to take another sword. After calling Li Zunying, the two walked out of the gate of Lu Mansion together and headed towards the most famous sword forging pavilion in Lin City. Chapter 821 Shadow Valley Blade. Lu Chuan and Li Zunying walked on the street, and soon they came to a courtyard. Lu Chuan looked up and saw a towering stone tower in front of him. The door slowly opened, and a man in a plain grey robe walked out. He looked at Lu Chuan and said with a smile, "Welcome to the sword forging tower. Are you going to forge a sword? Or are you here to sell swords?" Lu Chuan took off the black sword on his body, raised his hands, and held the sword horizontally. "I'm here to identify the sword. I know nothing about this sword at the moment, so I need to find someone to identify it." The man in front of him was immediately attracted by the sword. He hurriedly stepped forward, picked up the sword, and looked at it carefully. "This sword looks extraordinary, definitely not ordinary." Lu Chuan nodded slightly and continued to ask, "It is indeed extraordinary. I took it back from the hands of a strong man. In that case, can you ask a master to help me identify it? If you know someone, you can also help me take a look." The man nodded slightly. "My name is Zukong. Please come in with me. This sword is indeed not simple. I can't see it very well. Let professionals come." Lu Chuan walked in. The yard was a well-maintained bamboo garden. In the bamboo forest, there were stone tables and stone chairs. Zukong took Lu Chuan to the stone table and asked Lu Chuan and Li Zunying to sit down and rest first. Then, he quickly ran towards the direction of the tower. After entering the tower, he quickly rushed up the steps and ran to the tower. Lu Chuan sat in front of the stone table and picked up the teapot to pour a cup of tea. "Brother, try to drink less tea outside, in case of any accidents." Li Zunying pulled out a chair and sat down. "You are much more cautious than me, but I'm not afraid of poison. I have my own way to detoxify." The two sat in the bamboo forest. Li Zunying stretched out his hands and picked up the slender sword. When the sword was taken out of the scabbard, the sword body was dull and dark as ink, and it looked completely deep black. "This long sword looks very strange. I think this sword is not simple." Lu Chuan nodded slightly. "You are right. The quality of this sword is not ordinary. I plan to give it to Guzayadora, but before giving it to her, I need to find out the situation of this sword." "Are you worried that there is something unclean hidden in the sword body? You have to be more cautious. No matter what, I can't give a completely unknown thing to my closest person to use." After the two chatted for a while, Zukong came quickly with someone. "Sorry for the long wait. This is Master Wan Huan. He is in the sword forging tower and is a 9th grade swordsmith." Lu Chuan quickly got up and walked towards the man in a white robe beside him. "Hello, Master Wan. A 9th grade swordsmith must be very skilled." "Yes, in his hands, spiritual grade swords are easy to forge, and he is very familiar with them. Our sword forging tower has a good reputation in the whole Lin city. Most of the equipment we forge is taken away by the city guards, and we make a lot of money. This Master Wan is an experienced master. If you have any questions, you can ask him." Lu Chuan looked at Wan Hua. His temples were grey, and he was obviously quite old. "The sword I want you to identify is this one." Lu Chuan took the pitch black long sword and handed it to Wan Hua. Master Wan took the sword, took out the scabbard, and looked at it, and immediately frowned. He stared at the pitch black sword for a moment and couldn't help but take a deep breath. "This long sword, this pitch black blade, can only come from that place." Lu Chuan hurriedly stepped forward and asked, "Where?" "The Shadow Valley. It's not far away, but it's quite dangerous. It's hard for ordinary people to survive there. It's best for ordinary people not to go there. It's very dangerous. This sword must have come from there. The materials for forging this kind of sword can only be found there." Lu Chuan looked at Wan Hua and asked, "In that case, tell me the details of this sword." "No problem. It's called the Ink Shadow Sword. It has no extra features. It's just an ordinary long sword. However, it has an extra feature. If you use this sword at night, the blade will become sharper. Basically, that's the situation." This sword is about the 5th grade of spiritual weapon. It can be regarded as a very excellent sword. It's worth collecting. After looking at the ink shadow sword, he inserted the sword body into the scabbard and handed it back to Lu Chuan. Lu Chuan took the long sword and put it on his back again. Thank you for your help, master. I won't bother you anymore. I'll go back now. You, Li Zunying, should pay for the appraisal. Li Zunying stepped forward and took out some small change to hand it over. Wan Hua quickly smiled and pushed Li Zunying's arm away. No, you should keep it. I know you. Your name is Lu Chuan. You just killed the mayor of Lincheng and are now the mayor of Lu Mansion. It can be said that a person like you can come here to bring honor to our humble place. How can I ask for your money? Wan Hua said with a smile. Lu Chuan nodded slightly. Thank you very much. Then, Lu Chuan and Li Zunying turned and left. When the two returned to the gate of Lu Mansion, they happened to see the Su family's carriage parked at the gate. Seeing this, Lu Chuan walked into the mansion quickly. He happened to run into Su Qianming, who had just walked out of the door. When he saw Lu Chuan, he quickly smiled warmly. Mr. Lu, you're back. Well, I just went out for something. Really? I just came here and saw Gu Xiaorao you mentioned and took the 7-star underworld powder in front of her. Don't worry, I have already given the antidote to Miss Gu and she is keeping it. Lu Chuan nodded slightly, stepped forward and patted him on the shoulder. You are quite efficient. You got it done so quickly. Of course. This is a big deal for me, so I naturally have to take it seriously. Okay, you go back first. Okay, go back and come to me if you have anything. Su Qianming scratched his head as he stood there. Mr. Lu, I plan to sit on the throne of the city lord tonight. I have already arranged for some people in the inner city guards, and they all support me to take over. At that time, I will hold a banquet to celebrate this precious moment. At that time, I hope you can come here in person. I will feel more at ease with you around. Lu Chuan smiled and said, you want me to help you as a background, right? No problem, I'll go over there. If anyone dares to cause trouble at the banquet, I'll help you. That's great. Thank you very much for your help, Mr. Lu. I will be very grateful. When I become the city lord in the future, I will definitely repay you a lot. Chapter 822 City Lord Banquet. Su Qianming heard what Lu Chuan said and nodded to thank him. Then, he took out an invitation from his arms. When the time comes, you can take this into the inner city. I plan to hold a huge banquet on the training ground. I'll wait for you over there. If you come, I will definitely arrange the best seats. Lu Chuan nodded slightly. No problem. You go and arrange it first. I'll be there later. Okay. He shouted excitedly, then turned and walked out of the Lu Mansion, got on the carriage, and left along the street. Lu Chuan turned and entered the Lu Mansion. Lu Chuan found Gu Xiaorao in the courtyard. She was sitting in a pavilion, holding a pen in one hand and a paper in the other, thinking seriously. Lu Chuan walked over and sat beside her. Any questions? Huh? Nothing. I need to approve a few recent businesses, and I'm doing the accounts. She looked up at Lu Chuan and then put her eyes on the white paper in front of her. Did Su Qianming come here just now? You saw him, right? Gu Xiaorao nodded slightly. I saw him. He drank the poison in front of me and then gave me the antidote. There are people watching him in the mansion, so he can't do anything. The antidote given has also been tested and confirmed to be real. Lu Chuan nodded slightly. From now on, you can grasp the lifeblood of the city lord. In this Lin city, you can basically control everything. Gu Xiaorao smiled helplessly. After all, this is still a world where strength is supreme. I can't stop my own cultivation speed. Lu Chuan, I will take care of the Lu Mansion in the future. I will try my best to use the resources of the mansion to help me practice. Lu Chuan nodded. That's exactly what I meant. I may find time to go to the next city. At that time, if I encounter the power of the Lu family again, I will take it down. At that time, it will still be you who takes over. You just wait for news here. At this time, Gu Xiaorao picked up a birdcage from under the table and put it on the table. She looked at Lu Chuan and said, this is the bird of all worlds. Do you remember it? Lu Chuan looked at the birdcage and nodded, saying, of course I remember. This bird has a strong flying ability and can fly for a long time and long distance. It can cross the Kunlun domain and the secular world. People in the Kunlun domain use this little guy to pass messages. In the future, I can use this bird to pass messages to you. If there is anything going on here, I will tell you. Guzayadora opened the bird cage and took out one of the birds. A ring was fixed on the ankle of the bird of all worlds, and the corresponding connection was a jade ring. Guzayadora put the jade ring on the index finger of her left hand. Then, the bird of all worlds flapped its wings, as if it had received some kind of induction, jumped onto Guzayadora's left hand, and grabbed Guzayadora's left hand fingers with its little claws. Guzayadora held up the bird of all worlds and said, "I spent a lot of money to buy it. Here you go." She put another ring on the table. "Just wear this. If I write you a letter, it will find you with the letter." Lu Chuan picked up the ring and put it on his finger. "That's good. In this case, I can leave Lin Cheng with peace of mind. Take good care of this Lu mansion. If one day I attack the Lu family and kill Lu Fusheng, I will definitely not destroy the entire Lu mansion, but replace them and become the head of the family. At that time, you will be the head of the family's wife. Now, what we need is to take it step by step." Lu Chuan got up and walked out of the pavilion. "Su Qianming is going to hold a banquet tonight. Are you going to go?" "No, there have been too many changes in the city recently, and there are many things I need to deal with. You go. If Xiaosang wants to go, you can take her with you." Lu Chuan walked out of the pavilion, returned to the room, changed into a black dress with gold ornaments, and walked out of the Lu mansion again. Li Zunying still followed Lu Chuan closely. The two of them went towards the inner city together. On the way, Lu Chuan looked at Li Zunying and asked, "Among the people of the Nangang family, do you only know one Nangang Qianying?" "Yes, my hatred is limited to him." "Then the other people of the Nangang family don't know you, right?" Li Zunying nodded. "Yes, they don't know me." "Well, sooner or later we will run into the Nangang family, and then I will help you get revenge. I believe you." Li Zunying followed closely behind him, and followed behind Lu Chuan, and the two came to the gate of the inner city together. At the gate, the two guards saw Lu Chuan, and opened the gate immediately without hesitation, not daring to be negligent. "Welcome Mr. Lu." Lu Chuan killed the city lord Wan Changdang of the inner city. Not only did he not make the guards at the gate hate him, but he made them respect him more. This is a Kunlun domain where the strong prey on the weak and strength is respected. As long as you are strong enough, you can get respect. After Lu Chuan walked in, he saw that it was quite lively here. In the training ground in the distance, many people were walking back and forth. Tables were set out one by one. The city guards and the dignitaries from all walks of life in the city all came here and gathered together just to give Su Qianming a face. He is the controller of the largest martial arts hall in Lincheng, and is also the person who is about to become the city lord, so these people respect Su Qianming very much. Lu Chuan walked towards the training ground. Su Qianming, who was busy in the distance, turned around and saw Lu Chuan, and hurried over. "Mr. Lu, you are here. You are our guest of honor and the person I respect the most. I feel relieved when you come." He let out a long breath, and the tension in his heart was instantly eliminated. Lu Chuan became his reassurance. "Let's go. Take me to my seat." Su Qianming hurriedly led the way, and took Lu Chuan to a table in the front. "Please sit here, it's closest to the main stage." After arranging Lu Chuan to sit down, he hurriedly went on stage, picked up the loudspeaker, and shouted to the crowd. "Everyone is almost here. Some of you are the dignitaries from all walks of life in Lin City, and some are the powerful city guards. You are all the elites in Lin City and the core figures of Lin City. Today, I'm very happy that you can support me. Some of the members of the city guards here are my former disciples, and have practiced in my martial arts hall. We are all old acquaintances. As you all know, the city lord of Lin City, Wan Changdang, passed away not long ago. Now the position of city lord is vacant. Today, I will take over Lin City and become the city lord of Lin City. I hold this banquet in the hope of gaining your support. Your support is my motivation," he said excitedly, and the people in the audience had different expressions. Some of the city guards obviously did not buy into his words, and even looked a little disgusted. Chapter 823 The Power Caesar. Not long after Su Kanming finished speaking, servants brought in delicious dishes and placed them on each table in turn. Su Kanming looked at everyone and said with a smile, "Please enjoy the food. I spent a lot of money to invite the best chef in Lincheng and use the most precious ingredients to make this dinner. Please enjoy it slowly." After he finished speaking, he was ready to step down with a smile on his face. But at this moment, not far away, several figures were walking quickly. A group of nearly 20 people walked towards this side quickly. Their formation was neat and their steps were consistent. This group of people were wearing silver armor, fully armed, and carrying their own weapons, and they walked towards this side aggressively. The leader was wearing a golden armor, holding a helmet on his left arm, and walked quickly with a serious expression. After he came over, he immediately raised the sword in his hand. At the banquet, everyone was attracted and turned their heads to look over. They stared at the newcomer and were all curious. Seeing this, Su Kanming stood up quickly. Before he could warm up his chair, he walked towards the man in golden armor and asked hurriedly, "Who are you? Did you host this banquet?" He looked at Su Kanming and asked, "Yes, I hosted it. Is there any problem? Are you hosting this banquet to announce and celebrate your becoming the city lord?" He stared at Su Kanming with his eyes, as if questioning him. Su Kanming hesitated for a moment and said helplessly, "Yes, that's right. Do you think it's wrong?" "Of course." "No, who are you? Do I know you?" Su Kanming looked at him in confusion. He sneered, "Of course you don't know me. You may not have seen me at all. I'm the captain of the city guard team stationed outside Lincheng. My name is Zheng Xianqi. I'm the most trusted person of the city lord Wanchangdang. He appointed me to guard outside the city and monitor every move outside to protect the safety of Lincheng. Now, I heard that the city lord Wanchangdang died. I want to know what happened." He stared at Su Kanming and questioned, "What's going on? I don't think I need to report to you, do I? I'll take the position of city lord from now on. Do you have any objection?" Su Kanming said confidently, not taking Zheng Xianqi seriously at all. "You are qualified? The position of city lord, no matter how it is rotated, I'm afraid it won't be your turn, right? I have been loyal to my duties for many years. If city lord Wan dies, am I not more qualified than you to be the city lord?" Then, Zheng Xianqi looked at everyone and shouted loudly, "Everyone here, tell me, who should be the city lord? Is he, Su Kanming, qualified? Or am I, Zheng Xianqi, qualified? Whether in terms of strength or qualifications, I'm at the forefront of the city guards, and I'm also the most trusted subordinate of Wanchangdang when he was alive. Don't I have this qualification?" Everyone was silent, for they were afraid that they would say something wrong as soon as they opened their mouths. Zheng Xianqi's sudden visit was beyond everyone's expectations. They didn't expect that Su Kanming would encounter such resistance at the dinner party for becoming the city lord. Seeing that everyone was silent, Zheng Xianqi became more excited and confident. "Obviously, everyone has tacitly agreed that I'm the man who is more suitable to be the city lord. And Su Kanming, I know that you have opened many martial arts schools in Lincheng. You are very powerful, and you have many strong men under you, but to be honest, you are really not worthy of the position of city lord. If you don't agree, let's fight one-on-one. Whoever is stronger will be the city lord." He looked at Su Kanming with supreme arrogance, and his tone was full of momentum, leaving Su Kanming no extra choice. "Why should I fight you one-on-one? I will definitely be the city lord today." Su Kanming took a deep breath and said with full confidence. His confidence did not come from his own strength, but from Lu Chuan, who was sitting in the audience. Zheng Xianqi walked slowly towards Su Kanming, his eyes locked on him, as if he was staring at prey. "You don't even have the courage to fight me in a one-on-one duel, and you are qualified to be the city lord? I think you are dreaming." Su Kanming swallowed nervously and then set his sights on Lu Chuan. Now, his hope is placed on Lu Chuan. His own strength is only at the level of the early stage of the martial emperor realm. Although it is not much different from Zheng Xianqi has more combat experience and more complete equipment. If they fight, he will probably fall into a disadvantage first, and it is hard to say whether he can win. He set his sights on Lu Chuan, and now he has completely placed his hopes on Lu Chuan. If Lu Chuan takes action at this time, it will definitely shock everyone present. In this way, his position as the city lord is completely secure. Seeing Su Qianming's eyes that seemed to be asking for help, Lu Chuan shook his head helplessly and smiled. If it weren't for his help, this guy would probably never get the position of city lord in his life. Even though he was quite capable and the Su family was quite powerful, he was surrounded by hungry wolves for the position of city lord. The possibility of him succeeding in his fight was almost zero. Everyone remained silent and looked at the two curiously. Obviously, the power struggle between the two attracted the attention of everyone present. Among the crowd, at least most of them were members of the city guards. They were also curious about who would be the city lord in the future. However, the result would appear tonight. One of Su Qianming and Zheng Xianqi would definitely die. Lu Chuan stood up, and for a moment, he attracted the attention of everyone present. After Lu Chuan stood up, Zheng Xianqi also looked over. Who are you? He looked Lu Chuan up and down and asked curiously. He didn't know much about what happened in the city recently. After seeing Lu Chuan stand up, Su Qianming breathed a sigh of relief and felt much more comfortable. As long as Lu Chuan took action, his position as city lord would be stable, and he believed it without a doubt. Lu Chuan looked at Zheng Xianqi and asked, "You just said that you are the most trusted subordinate of the city lord, and you are stationed outside the city all year round to resist anything that may threaten lynching. Then I want to ask you something. Not long ago, Wan Changdang specially recruited a group of bandits outside the city in order to improve his own strength. He asked these people to search for the children of poor families as a trigger to improve their own strength. You are outside the city. You must have participated in this matter, right?" Hearing this, Zheng Xianqi's pupils suddenly dilated, and he couldn't help but take a few steps back, looking at Lu Chuan in horror. He was shocked in his heart. How did he know about this kind of thing? "You don't talk nonsense. You are making things up. If you keep talking nonsense, I will have someone drive you out." Seeing his extreme reaction, Lu Chuan probably knew in his heart that he was right. Chapter 824, Establishing Prestige. Lu Chuan's words made Zheng Xianqi in front of him very emotional. Not only did he look terrified, but he also felt scared and guilty. It was obvious that he was fully aware of the matter and even participated in it, helping those bandits. No wonder he became Wan Changdang's most trusted subordinate. It was impossible for him not to trust him. Zheng Xianqi raised his right hand, pointed at Lu Chuan, and shouted, "If you dare to slander me again, I will kill you." For a moment, the whole audience was in an uproar. Zheng Xianqi actually had the courage to threaten Lu Chuan's life. In the eyes of all of them, this was a very exaggerated thing. Someone stood up and asked Zheng Xianqi, "Captain Zheng, you have just arrived in the city, right? You may not understand many situations yet. It is better not to talk nonsense for now, as it is easy to say the wrong thing. Why are you talking nonsense to me? Did I say something wrong? It is obviously this bastard who is talking nonsense. Why are you reminding me?" Lu Chuan sneered, looked at Zheng Xianqi, and continued to ask, "It seems that I hit the nail on the head. No wonder you reacted so strongly." "Bullshit, you hit me. Are you dreaming? Those things I told you have nothing to do with shit." "Really? Then you admit that what I said is real? Otherwise, you wouldn't say that you have nothing to do with those things." Zheng Xianqi was stunned, lowered his head and thought for a while, then raised his head and glanced at Lu Chuan. "I'm a rough man, and it is really boring for you to criticize my words. I have never heard of those things you said. This matter has nothing to do with you. Stop talking nonsense. Sit there and eat your meal." Zheng Xianqi said disdainfully. Lu Chuan shook his head. "How can it have nothing to do with me? I supported Su Qianming to be the city lord. If anyone disobeys him, it means he has something against me, and I will definitely not forgive him." Zheng Xianqi stared at Lu Chuan and asked, "You supported him to be the city lord? Who are you? What qualifications do you have to support someone else to be the city lord?" Lu Chuan continued, "Wan Changdang, don't you know at whose hands he died?" Zheng Xianqi looked at Lu Chuan, sized him up. "It couldn't be you, right? Don't joke. City Lord Wan is powerful and experienced. There was good news some time ago that he broke through to the martial saint realm. Died at your hands. You think too highly of yourself. At this time, the group of people present couldn't bear it anymore and stood up one after another. Captain Zeng, what he said is true. Wan Changdang died in his hands. It's absolutely true. I'm not kidding you. Don't be confused. He is the one who killed Wan Changdang. He now controls the Lu Mansion. He is now the most powerful person in Lincheng. He supported Su Kanming to be the city lord. No one dared to contradict him. Aren't you looking for death? Zeng Xianqi, you are looking for death yourself. Don't blame us. You didn't figure out the matter clearly, and you rashly ran over to grab power. Aren't you confused? Faced with the accusations of the crowd, Zeng Xianqi was stunned on the spot. He was dumbfounded and felt at a loss for a while. No, what are you kidding? He killed the city lord one. This is actually true? Yes, who is kidding you? Everyone present is the dignitaries in the city. How dare that person talk nonsense? Zeng Xianqi stepped back a few steps and looked at Lu Chuan with a serious face. Then, one of his assistants came up and said, Captain, this guy killed our city lord. Why don't we avenge him? Zeng Xianqi was stunned for a moment, then turned around and roared, avenge your uncle, are you crazy? After shouting and driving his assistant away, he turned back to look at Lu Chuan. His heart was beating fast, and he didn't know what to say. You killed Wan Changdang? Impossible. He just broke through the Martial Saint realm some time ago. Could it be that you are also a Martial Saint realm expert? He stared at Lu Chuan. He couldn't see through Lu Chuan's strength. Lu Chuan walked towards him slowly. Am I not important? I want Su Kanming to be the city lord today, but you don't give me face. Since you don't give me face, then I can only get it back myself. Not only did you not give me face, you even said a lot of cruel words. Today, if I'll let you go safely, wouldn't I become a soft persimmon? Lu Chuan smiled indifferently and walked towards him slowly. Zeng Xianqi looked at Lu Chuan and began to take a few steps back involuntarily. He raised his hands to comfort Lu Chuan. Isn't it just the position of the city lord? It's okay if I don't fight for it, right? You guys continue the banquet. I won't disturb you. Lu Chuan walked towards him quickly. You want to leave? What do you think this place is? Today, you are dead. I won't leave you a way out. Seeing this, Zeng Xianqi immediately became cowardly and begged Lu Chuan, I really know I was wrong. What I said and did just now were all done without thinking. Forgive me this time. I will never dare to provoke you again in the future. Swish! Exclamation mark. The next moment, Lu Chuan activated the martial arts extreme shadow flash and instantly came to Zeng Xianqi. Lu Chuan's extreme speed made Zeng Xianqi stunned. Lu Chuan in front of him was like a mountain pressing on him, making him a little breathless. Looking for death. Lu Chuan raised his right fist, and the sun god fire burned on his fist. With bright and hot flames, Lu Chuan punched Zeng Xianqi. Bang! A punch hit Zeng Xianqi's chin, and he was knocked out before he even had time to block. Sure. Zeng Xianqi's body flew backwards and hit the ground heavily. With a puff, blood spurted out of his mouth, and his eyes fell into a trance. Then, under the continuous burning of the sun god fire, Zeng Xianqi suddenly turned into a fireman, struggling and rolling on the ground, and emitting heart-wrenching screams from his mouth. Everyone at the banquet heard the sound, and they couldn't help but feel horrified. A powerful warrior in the martial emperor realm died directly in the hands of Lu Chuan after only one punch. The difference in strength between them is simply amazing. Lu Chuan looked back at everyone and smiled calmly. Continue eating. Continue playing. Don't let this guy affect your mood. Everyone was shocked, and then they all ate obediently and seriously, and no one dared to say anything more. Su Kanming on the stage looked at Lu Chuan's figure and was immediately ecstatic. He hurried down and came to Lu Chuan. Mr. Lu, thank you for your help. If it weren't for your help, I'm afraid I would be finished today. You are simply my benefactor, he said excitedly. The coveted city lord was about to fall into his hands. At this moment, everyone in the audience couldn't help but accept it. If anyone didn't accept it, Zeng Xianqi would be their fate. Chapter 825 Uninvited Guests. Zeng Xianqi's body was burnt into charcoal, and the soldiers in silver armor rushed forward to collect the body. When the people around saw it, they were shocked. A martial emperor was taken away by a random punch. The difference in strength was too terrible. This was the strength of the martial saint that everyone looked up to. Among the people at the banquet, some of the city guards had not yet accepted Su Kanming, the new city lord, but after seeing Lu Chuan's brutal punch, they could no longer accept it. The dinner was eaten quickly, and then a few performances were watched. Everyone chatted lively for a while, and then it ended in a hurry. For everyone, they came here just to be a witness, to witness the change of dynasties in Lincheng. The controller here will become Su Kanming, and the actual controller is Lu Chuan and the Lu mansion behind. The crowd dispersed, and Lu Chuan walked towards the city gate. Su Kanming followed closely behind, with a flattering smile on his face. Mr. Lu, thank you so much for today. My prestige was almost challenged. Lu Chuan stood at the city gate, and turned to look at Su Kanming. Remember what you should do. Managing Lincheng is only one aspect. On the other hand, you must be loyal to the Lu mansion, and don't have any other crooked thoughts, otherwise the consequences will be very serious. Su Kanming nodded repeatedly. I will keep it in mind, and will never have any second thoughts. If I really do something treacherous, with your strength, you can completely wipe out the Su family. Lu Chuan nodded slightly. Do you know what I'm afraid of? One day, my enemies find you, and begin to coerce, and bribe you to join their camp, and promise to kill me. Then, you might waver. Su Kanming's face was solemn, and he shook his head quickly. Absolutely not. With the lesson of Wan Changdang, I will never make this mistake. It's good to know. No matter what, if you betray, you will die. Go back and rest. You can enter the city lord's mansion tomorrow and work hard. Su Kanming breathed a sigh of relief and a smile appeared on his face again. Yes, I will definitely work hard. Late at night, Lu Chuan and Li Zuning returned to the Lu mansion together. Lu Chuan returned to his room, washed up and went to sleep. The next morning, after Lu Chuan got up, he sat cross-legged on the bed and began to practice meditation. Sitting cross-legged, the branches of the sacred tree were placed in front of him, and a steady stream of flawless spiritual energy flowed out, which was absorbed by Lu Chuan. After absorbing the spiritual energy, Lu Chuan felt much more comfortable. At this time, there was a knock on the door. Come in. Gu Xiaosang pushed the door and walked in. After swaggering in, he pulled a chair and sat down. Is there something wrong? Can't I come to see you if there's nothing wrong? Gu Xiaosang said casually. Go out if there's nothing wrong. I'm practicing. Okay, someone is looking for you. My sister asked me to come and tell you. Who is looking for me? Lu Chuan continued to ask. Who else could it be? Dong Fangcheng. He came to see you and said he has something to tell you. Lu Chuan got up from the bed and pushed the door and walked out. I saw he was holding a letter. Who do you think it was from? Could it be from the Dongfang family's headquarters? They must be furious about Dongfang Lion's death. What if they send someone to investigate? Aren't you worried? If they find out, can we continue our cooperation with the Dongfang family? But you didn't kill Dongfang Lion yourself, so there's no way to find out. Hey, why are you talking? Gu Xiaosang kept chattering, making Lu Chuan feel annoyed. Okay, why are you worrying so much? Go practice hard, and don't bother me. Gu Xiaosang turned and walked away, snorting disdainfully. Who wants to bother you? Lu Chuan came to the door of the Lu mansion, and saw Dong Fangcheng standing there waiting for a long time. Master Dongfang, what brings you to see me so early in the morning? Lu Chuan, don't you know? People from the Nangang family are coming to Lincheng today. The convoy is on the way, but I don't know when they will arrive. Lu Chuan walked quickly towards Dong Fangcheng. People from the Nangang family? What are they doing here? I don't know. Maybe they are here to do business. The Nangang family has a large influence in the Kunlun domain. If we can cooperate deeply with them, it will be a great benefit. Lu Chuan nodded slightly. Do you know who is the leader? Is it Nangang Linga? Nangang Linga, the eldest lady of the Nangang family. Do you know her? Dong Fangcheng asked curiously. I've seen her before, but I'm not familiar with her. Is she coming? Dong Fangcheng shrugged helplessly. I don't know who is coming, but this is a good opportunity. Let's get in touch with the people from the Nangang family. If we are lucky, we can also reach a cooperation. In this way, our power to deal with the Lu family will be even stronger. After thinking for a moment, Lu Chuan nodded slightly. Let's talk about it when they come. Okay, then I'll go back first. I'll pay attention to them. When they arrive, I'll come to you. No problem. Then I'll trouble you. No trouble. For the sake of our goal, this is not a trouble. He turned and left, and Lu Chuan also returned to the mansion. At this time, Li Zunying came over. Brother, is someone from the Nangang family coming? Yes, Dan Fangcheng said so, but it's hard to say when they will come. He also said that we should cooperate with the Nangang family. This can't be cooperation, Li Zunying said anxiously. If Lu Chuan wants to cooperate with the Nangang family, will he continue to help him get revenge? I'm afraid not. Lu Chuan knew his concerns, patted his shoulder and said, Lu Chuan, always keep my word. I promised you that I would help you kill Nangang Qianying, and I will definitely do it. This is an opportunity to help me understand the Nangang family, so don't worry. I will definitely help you kill your enemies. So now, you have to help me well. Li Zunying was relieved and nodded and said, I believe you. I will continue to help you. Lu Chuan returned to the mansion to continue practicing. At around 3 or 4 in the afternoon, the Nangang family's convoy gradually entered the city. There were a total of 7 carriages, which slowly drove in, attracting passers-by to watch. The curtains on the carriages were all lavender, with some golden trimming decorations, and the atmosphere was extremely luxurious. At a glance, it was clear that this was a noble carriage, not something that ordinary people could afford. After the carriage drove in, people from the Danfang mansion saw the situation from a distance and turned back to the Danfang mansion to report the situation. Dan Fangcheng, who learned the news, immediately set out to find Lu Chuan. Dan Fangcheng didn't know what the Nangang family was going to do in Lincheng, but he knew that this news must be told to Lu Chuan as soon as possible. Now, the actual controller of Lincheng is Lu Chuan, so how to deal with the visit of the Nangang family, Lu Chuan's decision is the most important. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.